I wish my fucking foot would go right through your skull.
Why are you driving for 7 hours? Are you finally going to make Rob an honest woman? Fuck is in Mexico? You have a family? I thought they grew you in a lab where they made the garbage pail kids. I said you have family in Mexico. I'm oh my God, I'm surprised you have family. I thought they grew you in a lab where they made the garbage pail kids. Oh. I can't help but be racist. It's true. Like they would let you into San Diego. We know who you voted for. What kind of American are you? Jezebel, you got a PS5 Pro. Excellent. People seem pretty happy with them. Do you like it?
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer, baby, let's go! Yeah!
All right, fellas, welcome. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Cabinet Games for Monday, the 11th of November. I very much appreciate you being here with me. This is the show that the kids on the playground, I don't know. Just shut up. What they call Gabbing and Games. Good to see everybody. Good to have you here. I appreciate it. We got a very, very big show today. We have lots to talk about. Some stuff, most stuff is game related. Some stuff is not, but it'll be a lot of fun. I do want to give a tip of the hat. Not that I'm wearing a hat, to my good friend. I can't see with these glasses. Zilto Demukbahicient, who has subscribed with his Amazon Prime certificate, just like you can, over at the goddamn Cockadoodie Prime Amazon Twitch kind of show. Good to see everybody. Hello, KP History. Hello, good Sir Trey Trimble, the creator of all that is good with our beautiful CG intro. Okay, so Jezebel got herself a PS5 Pro. She's saying it's her first PS5. It's excellent. Everything from the UI design to the improved graphics and frame rate feels very premium. Excellent indeed. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've seen a lot of people out there talking about it, putting up screenshots and stuff, and video of Spider-Man and stuff. It looks pretty darn good. Somebody put up a video of Bloodborne. I mean, obviously it's not optimized for PS5 Pro specifically, but they're like, hey, look at some of the stuff it does automatically for Bloodborne. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty freaking good. Jezbelly, like me, she says, I was using GeForce Now, but they announced hourly caps, which is ridiculous, so I canceled my subscription, bought hardware. Yeah, I did see that. They announced on GeForce Now, which is my preferred way to play, that after 100 hours, there's a cap. I assume they'll let you keep playing, but you got to pay more. Or it's really weird for one of the most successful gaming hardware companies in the world that they would do that. Obviously, it's an expensive endeavor. I don't think it's just pure greed. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I may have to look. I'll be honest with you. I use it a lot. My son Calvin uses it a lot. I may just have to get 2 subscriptions to it unless they create a family sub, because it's wonderful. I mean, it's an excellent service. But it's funny. A friend of mine was going to therapy the other day, and the therapist recommended that he get a console because, he just, broke up with his fiance and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, get a console. A lot of people online might just help take your mind off it. And I says to him, look, man, he's a big Indiana Jones fan. We'll talk about Indiana Jones just a little bit, the big deep dive. It's not even a deep dive, just the trailer they put out today. And I said, look, he hadn't been gaming in ages. I said, just get a subscription to Game Pass. He's like, but I have a Mac. I'm like, you can play it through your browser. You live in a great area of California, great internet. You'll be fine. So, I mean, before anybody buys a console moving forward, I would absolutely recommend just triple check on your streaming situation. Because if you live in a good part of town and you got decent internet, it's pretty good. Stoner Gamer says that's the best advice a therapist can tell a guy lost in the sauce. I'm not saying that's the only advice he gave the guy. I'm saying that he said that, you're not always going to be able to get out there and see your friends and all that. And if you're sitting around and you're kind of lonely and you're spiraling, there's lots of people always online. There's lots of worlds to lose yourself in. Nothing wrong with a little bit of healthy escapism. Hello, BT Maverick. It's very nice to see you, sir. What's up? Well, we're talking all about the video games today. Well, let's just kick it off in honor of BT Maverick. Let's kick it off. Carlo, well, let me tell you something. Carlo says, tell him to get a PS5 instead, since it's a better investment. You know what a good investment is? You know who is sitting pretty, although I have not checked eBay, and I'm doing a show right now, so if anybody's got time to check eBay. But you have to have heard about Mattel and their Barbie dolls coming out with the license for Wicked, the movie with Ariana Grande coming out. The early word is the movie's pretty good. Like it could be a really big deal for Thanksgiving. And they put the dolls out and a bunch of the toys out. Lego didn't have this problem, but Mattel did. Where on the back of all the products, they put, visit the world of Wicked at wicked.com. Well, wicked.com is a porn site, and it should have been wickedthemovie.com. You may have seen this. So today Mattel announced they released an apology, and some people have said, oh, they're just going to put stickers over it. But you know how we are in America. You know how the parents are. I mean, I have already seen people online going, see, it's propaganda. They're grooming the kids. And I'm like, you people are fucking idiots. I'm not saying don't be cynical of big corporations. I'm not saying there aren't sleazy fucking assholes out there. There are many of them. We should all be careful. But if you're Mattel and your business is predicated on pleasing families and the children of those families, and let's just say, it's not true, but let's just say somebody at Mattel got a bee in their bonnet that they want to groom children. Why in the world, first off, would you send them to wicked.com, a porn site for adults? I assume you'd send them to some place where a lot of these creepy dudes are, or dudettes, whatever. But more importantly, it's like you've got websites, you've got cartoons, you've got very subversive, sneaky ways to do this. Why would you slap it on a box? The point is, I care about the kids, but I also care about my bank account, which is why. Did I order a Wicked doll? You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Here she is. There's a bunch of them, but I got the Elzeba, whatever, the Wicked Witch. And this is one of the ones that has the arrow on the back that says go to wicked.com. So we'll see. I saw this. They're not going to get this. I saw some people selling them for over $1,000 on eBay. There's no way. There's no way it's going for $1,000. But maybe in 20 years, let's say the movie's a really big hit, like it's the next big Frozen or next big, family classic. I could see you doing pretty good numbers with that. And you know how much it cost me? It cost me like $20. $20. I can already sell it for 180. Come on. Anyway, so that's exciting to me. That's exciting. I finally got a collectible that I don't think that Big Bad Eddie Torres has. So we'll see. Zack says, hey, Jaffe, been going through a rough patch as of late. Just want to say I appreciate the content. Keep up the great work. Zack, I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. What's going on? Zachariah, well, all I got for you right now is a sound bite. But, if you want to get into it, you want to talk about it, we're here for you, baby. Give us a shout. Call in on the Discord. Like anybody else can call in on the Discord, too. But for now, the next person you see in real life, Zack, say this to him.
I wish my fucking foot would go right through your skull.
It's true. It's true. Feel better, Zack. So did I see the Donkey Kong Direct? I did. In fact, let me put up I'm not going to show it. You know what? I'll tell you what pissed me off about it. It pissed off your old Papa Jaffe. Let me go back. Let me find out where I got that. There it is right there. So about 40 minutes ago, Miyamoto is putting up a video on Nintendo about the new world in Super Mario World. It's opening December, I think, 11th or something in Universal Studios Japan. And then it's opening next year in the new Epic Island Adventures in Florida. I don't know about the California one. And they've already got Super Mario World. This is Donkey Kong Country or whatever. And it's cool. I mean, the one thing they really wouldn't show, they showed a bunch of they show like you have the little bracelets like they have at Disneyland. And if you can find, all the letters scattered around the theme park, like DK, and spell Donkey Kong, you get some kind of reward. They've got shakes like banana shakes. Here's the little watches you can wear that have all the Nintendo logos and Mario logos. It's very cute. And they barely showed any of the main attraction, which is this Donkey Kong coaster. But if you've been following kind of the theme parks like I do, I love this stuff. What's real interesting about this one is it's a coaster. It is a minecart coaster. And all they really show at the beginning is you kind of go up to a giant barrel cannon and it shoots you out of it and that's it. But if you've been following this stuff, this is one of the first coasters to have the thing where they want to simulate jumping off the tracks, just like in the minecart from the Donkey Kong Country games. And so it's really actually quite cool. You've got your cart, and then you've got this pole that you never see because you're in the cart above it. And as it jumps over a piece of broken track, the pole is actually what's controlling you. But since you don't see it, it feels like you've gone airborne. And you're literally flying through the air, and then you land Indiana Jones style on the track X number of yards away. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. But what really pissed me off about this was all of the people were, not all, but there were a lot of people that were like, nah, where's the game? This isn't Switch. Bye. And I'm just like, you know what, bitch? The whole fucking thing said there will be no game news in this particular Direct. Everybody knew what it was about. And you know what really annoyed me more was the lack, and maybe these were a bunch of really young people. I don't know, but it's like here. I was there at the beginning, motherfuckers. I was there when the idea of video games being so influential and financially successful that they earned a spot at a theme park was laughable. Was fucking laughable. And here you are with Nintendo that makes such beloved content, both specifically in games, but now also movies and whatnot. And they have become so successful because they are so good that here they are showing you their next step into popular culture. And instead of the audience getting that and appreciating that and going, yeah, I would have liked to have heard about the Switch, but it was made clear to me that that wouldn't be this. They just bitched about it. I'm like, come on, man, let these guys grow the footprint that is Nintendo even larger. That kind of annoyed the fuck out of me. But it does look cool. I will be going when it opens in California, of course. But man, the theme parks are getting so cost prohibitive. I mean, they've always been expensive, but now it's like batshit crazy. So I don't know, but I definitely want to go to this one for sure. Nintendo started taking risks by making movies, parks, and stuff. That's interesting, says Loco. Yeah, absolutely. 100% it's interesting. And it's also reflective of the growing footprint of the influence of video games, which I think we should all be celebrating and excited about. Do I think other big name companies will make a movie park just like Nintendo? I think so. I actually have a video I've been working on. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but the gist of it is I'm using AI art and I'm designing a PlayStation theme park, because there was a time when I was still working at Sony having delusions of grandeur, and I was walking around Legoland in San Diego going, you know what? I wonder if I could somehow pitch these guys theme park stuff, Sony meaning. And I just started thinking about what rides we could have and all that shit. And obviously I'm not involved and I don't know if they're doing anything, but I would love, the video is great. I've got like a Bloodborne dark ride in there. I've got Twisted Metal bumper cars that have like the Buzz Lightyear guns that you can shoot each other and stuff. It's really, really cool. So I absolutely think that that you are going to see either PlayStation open a park or PlayStation partner with Knott's Berry Farm or some. I don't know if they really are in it to go the full ride and open their own park. Even Nintendo partnered with Universal. So, okay. Machine says, to be fair, there have been several directs now in a row, and there hasn't been Switch 2 news. Well, but Switch 2 news is like when you tune into a PlayStation showcase or a PlayStation State of Play, and you Nintendo never said there would be Switch 2 news. All they said was, I think they said it'll be announced by spring 2025, somewhere in that window, and that's it. And everybody else is at fault for speculating. What do you want them to do? They're like, we're not ready to talk about it yet. But anyway, Pornhub needs a theme park. Exactly, Tyler. Absolutely. Okay. And you did get, RPG's not wrong. He says, we did get a little Switch 2 news from the press the other day. Backwards compatibility. That's true. Switch 2 ain't being announced until next year, says 2D Man. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, I don't care when they announce it. Relax. There's so much to play. There's so much shit to play. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get to some stuff. I want to tell you. I do want to tell you this. Here's a picture of a shopping cart. Good, Jaffe. Here's why. And this is now I'm going to go back to not games, but I'll get back to games. So I go out to the grocery store today. I had to get drinks and some stuff for the kid. There's a Starbucks in the grocery store. And so I got a pumpkin spice for me, and I got Calvin something. I don't know what he wanted. I forget, some Frappuccino thing. And so I get a cart because I can't carry all this without spilling it. And I go to my car and I put everything in. And then I'm like, okay, well, I need to take the cart back. And I always park as far away as I can. But I'm like, whatever. I'm going to drive the cart, put the cart back. But then I'm like going, well, you know what? Where I parked, there's these little islands, and they hire dudes to come around and collect the carts, right? And so I'm like, as long as you don't put the cart in the way of anyone else's parking, who cares if it's here or up front? The guy gets hired to come collect this shit, right? But then I start thinking, oh, I'm going to be judged. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't even say that because people judge. And I've never been a guy who leaves my cart out willy-nilly. I always, if I don't take it all the way back to the front, I put it somewhere convenient for them to find and out of the way of traffic. But still, people judge you. And I took it back to the front. That's not the point. The point of the story is that I realized all of this inner monologue was happening in a matter of probably 40 seconds as I was debating what to do with my cart and finally acquiescing and taking it up front. And I'm just like, and this is nothing revelatory, but it's just when it hits you sometimes, when you have the bandwidth to step back at a 30,000 foot view and watch your brain and go, my God, how many decisions do we make on the daily that are purely based on how society judges us? How much bandwidth do we spend on a daily basis making decisions that are just you're barely if conscious of them at all? Do I talk to myself in my car? Oh no, someone pulled up next to me. Let me pretend I'm on my cell phone. Do I take my cart back when it's perfectly fine to put it right here on the island that no one's going to run into, and they pay someone to do this, right? I let this lady walk in front of my car, and then I to cross the crosswalk where there was no crosswalk because I was being nice. And then I go 8 feet and there's somebody else who wants to do the same thing. Well, now I don't want to do it again. Well, now they saw I did it to that lady and not this lady. Are they going to go, oh, it's because that lady was hotter than this lady? it just lives in your fucking brain. And Capono says, if these are your problems, you've got it made, sir. It's not that these are my problems. These are everybody's problems. These are things, even though they may not be these specific problems, there are these societal judgments that you are constantly running. Like, it's almost like, multiple processors. One of your processors in there is checking the society, making sure you're not going to be ostracized to the point that you find unacceptable. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. Internal struggle is based and expressed, says Ludo, because we seek all the time indirectly others' approval. Yeah, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. I hate it. Well, that's a good way to solve it, Left Control. Left Control in the chat says, I just don't let anyone cross. Well, that'll do it. Okay, well, wait a minute. Steven says putting your cart back is just being decent. It's not lazy. It's lazy not to. If you're talking, okay, so I don't want to get into a big thing about it, but this is what I'm saying. If you put your cart in the middle of a parking space and it's like, what the fuck, dude? Of course. But if you take your cart, like at my store, there's like the parking space and then there's an island that a very long strip of, shrubberies and such, and certain trees that you can basically bank your cart up into it and it's out of the way. And they hire someone to walk around to collect them. So why is that bad? And again, I took it back, but why is it bad if I choose to say, oh, well, I'll just do this? Why would they hire the person? I don't understand. Vitaphone says we sleepwalk through most of our choices. Yep. Makes sense. A portion of them are societal. Being thrown out of the tribe used to be life or death. Yeah, we got to evolve out of that as fast as fucking possible. Loco says, I wish I could not give a fuck just like in my childhood. I miss that. Not overthinking everything. I mean, listen, most days I can, but maybe that's one of the reasons I rarely go outside, because that particular program is still running in my head. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Well, anyway, I wanted to share that little adventure. Also, if anybody ever happens to see me searching stuff on the show and they're like, Jaffe, why did you look up? Again, we're going to get back to games, I promise. We just kind of got off because somebody asked about Nintendo Direct. I was going to do all this stuff at the front. We're going to get to games. We've got a lot of game news. Look at all those. You can't see the tabs. But I Googled, can you clone a human from urine? Okay, and I just want you to understand why I Googled this. If you ever happen to see it, I don't want you to think I'm making some bullshit up. Like, oh, no, bullshit, Jaffe. So, The Rock has a motion picture coming out with Chris Evans called, I think it's called, The Red One, or Red, it's where he plays Santa Claus, and Santa Claus it's called Red One. Santa Claus kidnapped, well, it looks terrible. But anyway, there was a lot of rumors when they were shooting that The Rock would basically piss in bottles, and he wouldn't go to the bathroom. He would piss in bottles in his trailer or on the set, and it was like, wait, what? And then Vanity Fair did an interview with The Rock, and they said, hey, we got to ask you about this bottle thing. And he said, yeah, no, he didn't say much about it, but he said, here's exactly what he said. He says, I pee in a bottle. Yeah, that happens. Nothing more, nothing less. So my understanding is it's kind of like this is so he doesn't have to leave the set and all this shit, that he can just kind of pee in a bottle and they can get back to work. Okay. And he gives it to his PAs or assistants or whatever, and they dispose of it. Okay, that's the story, right? And that's, you can go read it. I read it here on Kotaku, everybody's favorite website. There it is right there if you don't believe me. But think about this for a minute. So here's what it says, because I was like, okay, if you can you extract DNA? Can you extract DNA from urine? And the answer is you can. And then if you have DNA, can you clone a human? And it's like, well, as far as we know, I'm sure the answer is yes, and the government's doing it. But as far as we know, we don't have the tech yet to clone people. But think about being a goddamn production assistant on The Rock movie. And he's like, hey, 2D man, I got 3 bottles of piss. Take these out of here and bring me some more bottles to pee in. Can you imagine what you could probably sell that to if you knew the right people? I'm not messing around. I'm not fucking around here. There's a business here. You take the urine, you extract the DNA, and then you go and you say, hey, I have The Rock's DNA. Wouldn't it be great if all of our soldiers, just like in the Clone Wars and shit, were built from The Rock? Big buff dude who can easily get jacked with steroids and shit. You'd make a lot of money. And he just said, throw it away. He said, throw it away. So he's not using it. I'm just saying, I'm not doing a bit. I'm like, seriously, you could get The Rock's DNA. P. Diddy, the man with the parties and the ducats, drops a huge super chat. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the finances and I appreciate the generosity on your part. He says, Jaffe, listen, you missed out the party, too bad. Well, I don't go to your parties anymore, baby. Once I realize what happened to Bieber, I can't be a part of that. He says, I'm in jail once again. But when I'm out, I'll invite the party and hopefully you'll come. Listen, buddy, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the ducats, but I cannot come to another one of your parties. The last time I probably came within an inch of being in prison for at least 10 years, and I'm still digging out baby oil from cracks I didn't know I had. But I appreciate it, P. Diddy. Thank you, buddy, very, very much. Okay. But anyway, yeah, if you can smell what The Rock is peeing, you goddamn right. Okay. Michael, I get that reference. Very few in this chat will. He says, The Rock has a piss boy like Mel Brooks in History of the World. You goddamn right. Piss boy. Piss boy. All right. I wanted to share that story with you, though. We talked about this already. I want to let you know, if you're a member at any tier, Friday at 5 o'clock California time, maybe you want to come by the Discord if you're interested in hanging out and having your eyes and your brain and your ears partake of something. That's all I'll say about that. But Friday at 5 o'clock California time, you goddamn right. That is something you should be aware of. And yeah, although I hear that it might be, somebody was saying that the Logan kid's got it in his contract that he has to win the fight. But I'm like, Mike Tyson's not going to fucking throw a fucking fight. He's not going to fucking throw a fucking fight. He's never done that. He never will do that. But that said, though, if you're interested, keep an eye over there because this should be an interesting show. Also, I don't know if I'll be getting up early enough. We're about to get into video games, I promise. I don't know if I'll be getting up early enough, but this Wednesday is the next House of Representatives with my girlfriend, Representative Nancy Mace, about UAPs and UFOs. They're going to go over government transparency, recent reports, potential national security implications of unidentified aerial phenomenon. That is not some fringe thing. That's happening in the United States House of Representatives, okay? And so if I decide to get up early and stream it, great. If not, I'll just be talking about it on the show that day. But I do want to let you know that if you're into such things like I am, shit's getting pretty weird out there. And people always say things like, well, why is it so hard for them to capture with all of our great pictures and videos and phones? Why can't we capture these things? And it's like, well, I just want to let you know. This is from a couple of days ago. And this doesn't have to be extraterrestrial, but it certainly is advanced, and we don't know what it is, at least as the public. It's about as clear as you can get for these things. A lot of people have been seeing these orbs flying overhead. There's no sense of propulsion that we can see. They move in various ways. They're not balloons. They are moving in some sort of pattern. Capono says it could be our military. Absolutely. Absolutely. It would absolutely not surprise. That's the probable thing that it is. But there's a lot of weird shit up there in the skies. And so hopefully we'll start to get a little bit more information on it. But I don't want to bore you if you're not into that. But if I stream it, we'll talk all about it on Wednesday. So that's what's happening there. This stuff is insane to me. I love this stuff. Okay. But let's get back to the actual reason we're all here, besides my pretty face, is the video games. This is not a piece of news I want to share with you. I just want to tell you my own personal experience. I was reading about Fallout 3 New Vegas. I have never played Fallout 3 New Vegas, and I've heard people rave about it over the years, and I'm like, whatever, I'm busy. I got things to do. I got a million things to play. But I saw this article because there was an interview about this game in Edge magazine this month, and the director Josh Sawyer said a couple things that perked up my ears. He says all of our work had gone into the intricate and the freedom of the quest of that game and the critical path. Those are the things, if you just do one playthrough, you're going to be like, yeah, whatever, who cares? So it did take time for people to go, oh, wow, you can actually beeline straight to the Vegas Strip. Freedom was particularly important for Sawyer, says the article, as he noted that, quote, you don't even have to do the critical path. You can kill anybody in the game, and the game accounts for it. We really heavily focused on freedom to play the game the way you wanted, and I think that's what stood out over time. So what I'm saying is I didn't know this was that kind of game. The games that let the narrative, within reason, given our technology and scope ability, fold around your choices are some of the most exciting representations of what the art form can do. So now Fallout 3 New Vegas is absolutely on my radar, and I will be playing it the next month. And I'll probably be making a video about it. But I can tell you that this idea where he says, if you just do one playthrough, you're going to be like, yeah, whatever, who cares? This was always what I would say when I was working at Sony, and people were like, let's make this game where whatever choice you make, we can adapt to it. And my initial thought was, it's like, well, if that happens, the feeling for the gamer is just going to be, they're not going to appreciate 90% of the content in the game. But then I realized it's not even the fact that after the fact, your friend will be like, I did this. Oh, you mean I could do this and you did that? It wasn't that. It was the fact that when you try something and it actually works, that sense of freedom, that sense of control and real immersion in the space, like real life, that's the feeling you get. So even though you may not know all of this stuff that's been built, it doesn't matter. It's that you said, hey, you know what? I want to try blowing that cage open in the zoo and free the monkey. And then suddenly the monkey is distracting people and you're like, shit, I can go that worked. That worked. So I'm excited. K-Nub says that game is a great game to save before the final choice and replay at the end with all the factions. Every choice counts with various ramifications, says Ludo. Yeah, so I am super excited. Yes, I know Fallout 3 and New Vegas are two different games, but this game is Fallout New Vegas, and it is started right as it's basically came out after Fallout 3, so it uses a lot of the assets and code and stuff of Fallout 3. RPG says, on second run of a game, unless it's obvious you have a different choice you can make, I would say people tend to react the same. You know what I've struggled with? I'm playing, I'm playing a lot right now, but I'm playing Dragon Age Veilguard, which I am a very, very big fan of. And I'm also playing, God, I'm playing so much. I don't know what it is. It'll come to me later. But another game where you can make choices about your behavior. Oh, I know. I was playing live D&D this weekend with Collide and Hector Howell and Retro Gaming Queen. And even that, it's like I know part of the fun should be that you get to role play someone totally different than you. It's like, I'm going to play this one as a total evil asshole. I just can't do it. I just can't fucking do it. This is why, a lot of people still come up on the internet and they say, oh, Jaffe, you did that thing where you tweeted about getting trophies for shooting up minorities. And they really are convinced that I was like doing it as some kind of weird right-wing guy. And I'm like, no, it's because the older I've gotten, I don't feel comfortable, even when I know they're not real. I was going to say, quote, real. Man, I don't fucking know what they are. I don't feel comfortable being a jerk in video games, or in games. I just don't do it. And so whenever I have games like this, it's like, I'm going to play the bad guy now. I'm like, I can't do it. Fallout New Vegas says Bukkake is a great RPG. The characters you make, the stats will matter a lot when it comes to interacting with other characters. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Ludo says, Jaffe, why not a game that invents scenarios by AI? That's coming. We're already seeing that. That is absolutely, you can already see that in a web game called Fables and Friends, or Friends and Fables, which the AI is basically plays Dungeon Master with the 5th edition D&D rules. And it's actually quite it's quite interesting because, yeah, you can make choices and the whole story writes itself around you. Movie Maniac says, I always do the bad actions in games because it usually gives you more interesting endings. I just can't do it. I should try, but I can't do it. PG says, I'm sorry, what? You don't know what they are? What do you mean by that? What I mean by that is I am agnostic on everything, right? I don't know, I don't know what we are. So is it possible that all you have to do is write a little bit of AI for an NPC and there's some kind of sentience there? Not that we know of, and probably not. I'm not walking around genuinely worried about it, but there's something that, here's what I would tell you, PG. There's something about, not energy, I don't mean like woo-woo, new age, spiritual chakra stuff, but there's something about just putting things out into the world. And I don't mean it like you're doing it because you're playing the odds. Like, I don't want to put bad stuff out in the world because it'll all go to hell. I just mean that it's like, I really genuinely feel that above all of this perception of what we call reality, there just isness of kindness and sometimes not kindness and fear. And I think the idea of treating anything badly is just kind of not a good idea. It doesn't feel good in as much of my essence of what, and I know that makes me sound crazy, and that's fine. I don't mind if I sound crazy. Welcome to my fucking life. But that's what I think. That's what I think. P. Diddy, thank you so much, buddy, for joining the Diet Soda Soldier. See, listen, I didn't know they let the criminally convicted use the internet in the big house, but I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you being part of our community, P. Diddy. Thank you, buddy. Should I call you Sean or Puff, or I'll just call you P. Diddy for now. Thank you, buddy. Very, very much appreciate it. Okay, let's move forward. Ease on down the road. You see this? This is good news. Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Coming out tomorrow. Coming out in less than a day on, well, the screen's kind of small. Let me fix that for you. Coming out tomorrow on the Game Pass. Not too shabby. They're starting to load up the Game Pass. Not bad, given Christmas is coming. I still don't think, if it were up to me and someone said, should I buy an Xbox console? I'd say no. Get yourself a PC. PC Game Pass is excellent, and PC is excellent. But do what you want to do. I don't give a fuck. All I'm telling you is this is a beautiful remaster, remake, and it's coming out tomorrow for Game Pass. Zach says, what game would you consider to be a great open world that does a great job of hand-holding? Hand-holding. What does that even mean? Hand-holding. I mean, like, so it doesn't overwhelm you, I guess is what you mean. I think Star Wars, the new Star Wars Outlaws, does a good job because it's not one of those things that they just, you can go out and explore, but they do a pretty good job of leading you through the main path if that's interesting to you. But that's kind of what I would say. That's what I would say. PC is too expensive for some, says Steven. It is. But again, if you get, I don't want to bang the drum too hard today, but if you have a shitty PC, but you're close to a server farm and your internet's pretty good, not great, just pretty good, just stream it, man. Who was I talking to the other day who was playing, I don't know who it was. Somebody else was playing on cloud, and they're like, I don't even think about playing on cloud. It's not this thing where it's like, it's poo. You just stop being aware you're playing on cloud. It's pretty cool. Okay, here we go. Let's see what else is happening in the world of games. Look at this. This is coming out this week. Hang on. This is Horizon Lego. Now, I'll tell you, God damn it. I'll tell you about this. I love the world. I've said this before. I love the world of Horizon. I think the dinosaurs and the idea of futuristic cave people with dinosaurs made of metal and robot dinosaurs, pretty fucking cool. I just don't like the narrative. I don't like the characters. So this is the first time I'm excited for a Horizon game because it's clearly not going to be this somber, depressing. Aloy is struggling and she's quiet and, fuck you. No, it's going to be, it looks fun. It looks really fucking fun. And so I'm jazzed for this. I also read on the PlayStation blog that every single thing you see in this game was designed to be made with Lego bricks. Now, obviously, every time you buy a Lego set, there are some specialty pieces that you're not going to be able to make, but the vast majority of things that aren't clearly special pieces, like the roof there, for example, can all be made with standard Lego bricks. That was kind of a requirement for these guys, which I think is really cool. So I am looking forward to this. This is going to be out. It's online co-op as well as same couch co-op. I saw this one visual that I thought was pretty cool, but I don't think it is this. But it was a visual that looked like, is this it right here? Yeah, this is the article where they're talking about you can do this with all the normal Lego bricks. But this for a moment kind of caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, is that somebody's mobile phone screen? I would love to see more games starting to do second screen co-op. It doesn't mean that you have the same controls, because that sucks. But there's so many things, like, I think back to being a kid playing with my brother, and if I had a phone and I could do stuff like, okay, I'm playing mini games that gives Aloy on my phone, that gives Aloy in the PlayStation 5 game, more arrows, or I'm able to play a mini game to manipulate one of the dinosaurs so he teams up with her and all this shit. It seems like there's a missed opportunity there for some of that. Sometimes people do it. Yeah, it's like the Tingle Tuner in Wind Waker, but it would be more involved because it's on a phone, you got a screen, and it wouldn't ask you to basically control one of the characters with the phone. I think that'd be cool. Thoughts on Arcane? You mean the Arcane Studios or the animated show on Netflix? I'm not sure what you mean. You just bought, Brett Moore says, a Lego Back to the Future DeLorean and a Porsche. 1,500 pieces, should be fun. I know me and Calvin are going to be getting a Lego set pretty soon, because we like to do puzzles together, and Lego's pretty fucking cool. But God, they got, again, I'm looking at that Avengers Tower. It's like a $500 Lego set. I mean, that's $500 for Legos. Come on now. It is big, but come on. No, too much. Arcane is the studio. Arcane is the show. Well, I don't watch the shows, so I don't know much about it. Okay. Let's move forward, shall we? Astrobot. Give me your thoughts on this. Astrobot, according to a Sony call, we'll talk more about the Sony call a little bit later, but Astrobot has only managed to sell 1.5 million copies. And really, if you're Sony, what do you take away from this? Do you take away, because here's what I thought was going to happen. Now, again, this wasn't my favorite game of the year, but I know a lot of people loved it. Very well made game. But what I thought was going to happen is that the PlayStation brand has been around long enough now that now you've got parents with kids, and it's become generational, where they're like, let me introduce you to, Jumping Flash and Kratos and Nathan Drake, right? So it would start to build that Nintendo generational love that I think has been one of the key things that's kept Sony from breaking through the family market like Nintendo does. Well, there's like 66 million PlayStation 5s out there, and only 1.5 million people chose to buy this. And it's clearly, it's one of the best rated games of the year. It's probably going to be on most Game of the Year award nominee lists, not mine, but a lot of people's, a lot of big, Keeleys and all that. But, maybe because Horizon's coming out on the Switch, maybe if it does really well on the Switch, Horizon Lego, maybe they can turn around and figure out, even though I know conceptually you're in a PlayStation 5, nobody cares. Maybe they could release this on the Switch. And maybe it's just like, look, your PlayStation, this is a great game, but your PlayStation audience is not going to tune in for this. There's not enough of them. That's not why they buy the PlayStation. They want something that makes them feel cool, and they want something that feels adult. They don't want a little kiddie game. I have no idea. But whether it's this or Puppeteer or the last Ratchet & Clank, which is one of my favorite PlayStation games ever, Rift Apart, none of them have done worth a damn. And I don't know why. Ambient Jules says, if I'm Sony, I'll make an Accolades trailer for Astrobot, throw some money on marketing and give it a fat holiday push, maybe a bundle. Well, I think out of all of that you just wrote, Ambient, the bundle makes the most sense. I think when you get this in most people's hands, I think they'll be quite happy. But I think that it's not about the marketing. I mean, sure, you could blow this out and market it, but you know, it was marketed well enough that more than and it reviewed well enough that more than 1.5 million people should have shown up for this. It's not a lie. It was part of the call we're going to be talking about that Sony did. I mean, we know exactly where this came from, this data. That's interesting. That's interesting. Felix says I would advertise it with the Plus subscription. Right. You're saying that, hey, you get it for free, quote free. Yeah, I could see that. Zane says the problem is people who buy a PlayStation have to justify their $700 purchase with graphics. Right. I mean, certainly it's not $700 for everyone, and maybe they will. I still think it's too expensive. They should drop the price for the base one, but you know, maybe they don't have any reason to do that right now. Sorry, I'm looking at y'all's comments to see. Yeah, Warped Eye says blame Fortnite. It may come down to that. It may come down to the fact that Fortnite and Roblox and games of such ilk really just kind of the young kids, if you're, you know, that's what they're playing. I was reading what was he playing? The Volgar the Viking developer, Chris, who comes in here from time to time. I'm a big fan of that guy and his work. He was saying he was playing something this weekend with his kid, and they were having so much fun. And it was one of those bigger games. It was like a Fortnite or something like that. I saw he tweeted this out. And it's just like one of those things that's like, yeah, if you're, or Minecraft, if you've got kids, they're covered, and they're covered for a lot less money. Nick Wiley says, when is breaking even okay when the product is superb? It's never okay. I mean, fundamentally, you know, it's only okay if you can go to that team and say, guys, you're clearly a bunch of brilliant people, but brilliant people doesn't pay the bills. So you need to come back to us with something now that allows you to continue to express your brilliance in the medium, but is more commercial. So, you know, look, if I'm this team, and they want to make money, or they're forced to making money, like they can't be a prestige studio. They have to do better than that, which I get. I don't know. I would suggest maybe going, you know, you could take this exact same game and just mature it up. You know, it would cost more money, of course, but you know, it looks like a preschool game. It's not, it's a fucking wonderful game, but it looks like a preschool game. And kids who are okay with that, like you said, they're already playing free shit. Let me see real quick. I want to see what that guy was playing with his son, because I don't think it was Fortnite. But he said he was playing it all weekend, and they were just having the best time. And that very similar, it's very similar to, you know, when I was playing, when my kids were younger, when we would play Minecraft and Fortnite and stuff like that. I just want to kind of see what it was he was playing, because maybe it was a Sony game. It was, hang on. I can't even find it now. I don't think he got rid of it. I don't know. He may have posted it somewhere else. But anyway, yeah. So I'm certainly interested. Won't this kind of game, says Nick, do really well for the holidays? I don't think so. I think there was a time, but and maybe if it's on Nintendo, like I would bet that Nintendo's gonna do better with Horizon than Sony did with this. Frankly, just because that's the system, you know, if you're a kid, you've got. I mean, at this point, if you're Sony, maybe it's like, you know, take Astrobot and just fucking, you know, after it's run its course or something, you know, run it in a fucking browser or PC. Just get, you know, just the first 2 levels or something. Just let people experience it, because conceptually it's not appealing to many people, clearly. Felix, I just don't agree with you. He says, no, Jaffe, the need to grow the franchise slowly. Astrobot 2 will sell more. If you put this team on another project, it won't diversify the portfolio and will run over cost and time. I mean, you're making a lot of assumptions there, but I don't think it will sell more. I think, you know, I mean, unless suddenly this holiday season, this becomes like a 8 million seller, but no, I don't agree with you. I think the market has spoken to Sony time and time again about these kinds of games conceptually, thematically. It's not working for them. And it's okay if they want to keep trying, but making a sequel to a game that I think underperformed is probably not the best way to go. Ludo says, Jaffe, don't you think that originality is not really appealing, and very well marketed? I don't think you can ever count on originality in AAA. I think it's nice to get if you can have it, but most people who really are spending the kind of money that needs to be spent to break even and make profit, that's you can't spend that kind of money and assume there's enough people that give a shit about originality that they're going to show up. Yeah, look, Rob the Mod says, I make great money on Roblox assets and people buy all the time. I'm telling you, that's what I say to a lot of people. Like, I had this guy on Brain on Games the other day who made that game. And I didn't say this because I know programmers get tired of hearing me say it, but it's like, if you know how to program and make a game, go fucking be a big, massive fish in a small pond and make some Fortnite creative engine, Unreal 5 stuff, or make some Roblox Studio stuff, is what I would say. They better not shut the team down, says Big Bad Eddie T, because Astrobot's phenomenal. Well, okay, I don't disagree that it's not a great game, but I mean, you know, Sackboy Adventure was a great game. In fact, I thought Sackboy Adventures, which was a launch PS5 title, was better than this. And this was good. But you know, I hope they don't shut that. The team's clearly too talented, but I also thought the Concord team, but at least with Concord, they said, we're going to take the people that we need and move them around if they want to go to those other studios. So it's not like they're getting rid of their star players, but you know, it's interesting. That's interesting. Tyler says, make 20 or so 5-minute Astrobot shorts, put them on YouTube and wait till kids latch on. Yeah. And maybe make, you know, a handful of little Astrobot levels that can run on a phone or in a browser, and just let the kids click on them. And it's like, oh, what are you playing? I don't know. It's really fucking fun. You know, there's a lot of ways to do it, but you know, if they really want to crack the kids market, putting out a game that a lot of families will like, I don't think this is probably gonna. They've gone down this road too many times. If they continue to go down it, I think it's a little goofy. Okay. Felix says, is 1.5 million units that bad with such a small team? Again, yes, it's very bad, but not for you and me, right? So it's one of those things where it's like they're not. I think it was last week, 2K sold their private division boutique firm. And they have a great game out this year. It's an early access called No Rest for the Wicked. But they've done a number. They did the Outer Worlds or Wilds with Obsidian. They do a lot of really good stuff. But the CEO, Strass Zelnick, came out and said, you know, that's not the business we're in anymore. It's like you can't swing in hopes of hitting a single. Everything's got to be a home run. And so 1.5 million is not acceptable for a company like PlayStation at this point. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to be anywhere close to being happy with it. So in a little bit, we'll get to the earnings call they did yesterday, where they actually kind of address this, which is pretty interesting. It's pretty fucking interesting. Okay, let's move forward though, shall we? You Batman fans will be happy. Look at this. It's been a brutal year for Warner Brothers Games, says IGN, with Rocksteady's Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, which I enjoyed. People were too harsh to it, but regardless, it didn't sell. $200 million hit to revenue. And then the Multiverses, which I thought was a really well-made game, an appealing game, but I didn't want to play it for more than a couple days. Even once they relaunched it, they lost $100 million. So now what they're doing, besides selling, I don't know if you saw this, they're selling the actual Batmobile tumblers that are totally functional. I don't think they function like they did in the movie, but they're selling them for. They have 10 of them, and they're selling them for $3 million each. It's like a garage sale over there. But anyway, he says, "Look, moving forward, we're going to focus on Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, and DC." And then he says, in particular, Batman. In particular, Batman. Nobody wants the Suicide Squad. Nobody wants even the Wonder Woman game. Probably we want the Batman. So I don't know if that means we're going back to making some Arkham games, or who knows what it means. But I know a lot of people that's their favorite character. And it's good to hear that he'll be continuing to be present in the games. But I did get to thinking. I did have an idea. Like people say, Jaffe, you want to make games again? You know, only if the conditions were right. And I don't know if I'd want to make this, but I'd want to play this. Okay, so there are games that are starting to use AI for NPC conversations. There's one I played the other day where you're like a killer, or you're a vampire, and you go up to the doors of people that are AI, and you have to talk to them. And it's using like Chat GPT and stuff, so they can go out to the internet mentally, and they'll know when you say, hey, I got Taylor Swift's new album. Can I come in? Let's listen to it. Because you're trying to trick them into inviting you in, because that's the only way a vampire can come into your house, right? This came out like 8 months ago. It's fun. It's stupid, but it's fun. But that's kind of where we're at. I think this would be great. You play a therapist. I had AI do some art for me. You play a therapist in the DC universe, and you see the heroes and the villains. I know Harley Quinn was a therapist, but she became Harley Quinn. And you're not just at Arkham. You'll see bad guys, good guys, and you've got missions that you can only achieve by talking to them, right? So Wonder Woman may come to see you, and she's really stressed about, the cheetah or some such shit. And based on how well you do with your conversational goals, when she comes back, in fact, you can see the city from your windows. You can see how it's being built or destroyed or whatever. And so there's like a meta that sits on top of it of how well you're helping these people, right? You could talk to Superman. You could talk to Joker. Could you be the one that actually, heals the guy? Come on, man. This would be great. It would cost almost no money. You can make it with like 3 people if the art could just be very simple panel art without 3D and shit. Come on, man. This would be great. It would be great. So if somebody say, yeah, Jaffe, we'll make that with you, I'll look into it. Because wouldn't that be cool? Nick Wiley says, as a dev, have you ever ran into an idea you thought was great and possible, but your team wasn't talented enough to make? I don't think that it's an issue of talent. I just think, some teams are good at some things. Like, I'll give you an example. We were doing this game called Heartland with the guys out in Utah that did Twisted Metal. And for me, Heartland was, I was trying to make like a video game version of Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, and, in terms of like a real, or Platoon, a real serious look at war. Not that I had the background to do that, not that it would have been successful, but ultimately going to a bunch of guys that would never really consider games as art or anything like that was a bad fit. Doesn't mean they're not capable. It's just not what they do. It's not kind of where their passion is. Jaffe, what is with your sexual AI art? I don't know. I literally did this on Grok on the if you don't know what he's talking about, if you're listening, I have Superman in therapy, Wonder Woman in therapy, and Joker. And all I did was type, Superman on a therapist couch talking to a female therapist in her office in a cartoony style. And that was it. That was all it was. And this is kind of what came back. And this was like first pass. I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Yeah, I like that idea though. Doomslayer says, if you choose the wrong steps while you're trying to cure Joker, you lose and go crazy, or they just kill you. Okay. How would you make a Charles in Charge game? Technology isn't advanced enough yet. God. Well, first I'd get somebody else that's not Scott Baio, but I'd have to think about it. What's with Jaffe and therapists, says Stoner Joe? I think therapy, not always. I think you can be in therapy way too long, and I think it can become a crutch. And I think some therapists, whether it is greedy or whether they're just not great at their jobs, long-term therapy that you're in the same therapy for 30 years, that sounds just more like a friendship where you trauma dump on your friend. But a therapist that really is like, hey, this is my goal. This is my focus with you. This is what we want to try to achieve. It's hard to be self-reflective, and hiring somebody that can come in and kind of look at you from the outside without all the shit you bring with it, and go, all right, what's happening? Let's work on that. I think it can be very helpful at the right time, but you can also, rely way too much. Dragon's Age, the Veilguard, which I think is great. Launch numbers in the UK broadly identical to those of Dragon's Dogma 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is coming from, what's his name? Christopher Dring, sorry. He was on a podcast. He said, they're identical to those games. It performs slightly worse in the UK, because that's all the numbers he has, than Star Wars Outlaws. He says he doesn't know if the game Dragon Age Veilguard launch sales have met expectations, but from his perspective, he seems to think that the game has done all right. That's weird, though. If it did as well as Dragon's Dogma 2 and Final Fantasy VII, okay, I could see the last sentence making sense. He seems to think it's done all right, but performs slightly worse than Outlaws, which was not a very successful game in terms of sales, at least from what we know so far. Regardless, though, I think it's absolutely delightfully wonderful. The one thing I'll tell you about this game that really bothers me is, Lucas, let me come back to Dragon Age. Let me go back to this AI thing. Lucas says to run a large language model locally, it takes almost all my resources. How do they do a whole game with every NPC? I don't know, but they do. I'll just tell you the name of it. It's, let me see what it's called. I have it. It's not on Steam. It's like you have to buy it from their website. Vampire Invite in AI game. I don't fucking know. It is called, one second. Oh, here we go. It is called Suck Up. All right. Here it is right here. And so, yeah, it's a comedic deception game where players are vampires trying to convince people to let them in. Each character is powered by generative AI. So, I don't know what to tell you.
In this game, I'm playing as a vampire.
So yeah, you just go up to these people, and all this stuff is large language model stuff, and then this is you, and it's fun. It's funny, it's silly, it's goofy, it's a lot of fun. So I don't know. I'd do that, Rob, in a heartbeat. No, you cannot interact with more than, as far as I know, one character at a time. I have no idea. I don't think so. Okay. I'm going to go back to what we were talking about, though. What is the main gripe with this game? You're talking about Dragon Age, right? Well, I mean, there's a lot of people. Well, there's two gripes, right? There's a valid gripe, I guess. I don't know Dragon Age that well. I know that Dragon Age Veilguard and Dragon Age Inquisition, which was the one before, are very different games. My understanding is that's what Dragon Age does. So if you're a fan, you probably shouldn't be that surprised that they've kind of shifted away to a different kind of game. But I've seen that criticism, and that's fine. But then there's, and it's written in a very young adult fiction style, which is not bad. It's just not this big, dark, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. It's still serious, and they deal with serious stuff, but it feels a bit more like, what's that Rick Riordan series about the Greek mythology camp or something? Percy Jackson. It's kind of got that flavor to it, right? But the game, but that gets tamped down after a few hours, and it really doesn't hurt the game. And the game itself is great. The game itself is really, really excellent. Yeah, Arathisel says it's like the new D&D movie. Yeah. But regardless, though, the thing that really does piss me off, though, is I think at this point, given that Metacritic is so fucking popular, and I don't think most people come here and see review bombing, which is what this is. You can't see because my head's in the way, but it's sitting at an 82 critic and a 3.9, a 39 user score. And I think most people who come to Metacritic understand what review bombing is, and they'll probably go, okay, wait, what's going on here, right? But so much of this is from people who have not actually played the game. So it kind of annoyed me when they came out, Metacritic, and here's what they said. They said, in a statement to Eurogamer regarding the backlash on their site about Dragon Age, they said that Metacritic is a place belonging for all fans. We take online trust and safety seriously across all of our sites. So yeah, they were talking about homophobic stuff and insults and racist slurs and all that. Sure, of course, deal with that. But the fact that Steam does it, even PlayStation does it, and those scores are really good. They're not like Game of the Year good, but if you go to, we kind of talked about this the other day. If you go to Steam Dragon Age, let's see, it is sitting at mostly positive. And I think if you go on PlayStation, it's sitting at like 4.6 stars. And if you go to mostly positive reviews and you actually filter it and you say, okay, I want to see scores that are based only on purchase type. I want to see people who've purchased it. And then I want to see people who have played at least an hour. Mostly positive, right? The longer you play, which really isn't the user's problem, that's the game should solve this. But the longer, but it's that, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how hard is it? How hard is it for Metacritic to recognize that they're hurting their own fucking brand, their own site, by allowing this shit to continue? It's like you shouldn't be able to review a game if you haven't played it, or at least let the people know and filter out the people who haven't played it. Then if you really want to give it a 1 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10, that's awesome. You have that right. But to do it, it drives me batshit. It's just dumb. It's just fucking dumb. All right. Let's talk about Indiana Jones, shall we? Indiana Jones came out today. Well, they call it a gameplay deep dive. I'm sorry, but this was not a deep dive, and there's not really any spoilers. I wasn't going to watch it because I'm very excited for this game. But there's not any spoilers or anything. So, well, to Metacritic, you guys are saying, Ravno says they don't care about truth, engagement rules all. I guess, but if people stop going there because they know that it's kind of a useless site, at least when it comes to user scores, it kind of leaves somebody open to come in and, beat them at their own game. So I watched this morning. I'm the wrong guy to ask about this game, only in the sense that because I'm such a hardcore indie nerd, I don't care if it's a piece of shit. I'm excited for it. But what I will say about it, though, is I don't think this trailer, and thank God it's on Game Pass, because I think that this is the Indiana Jones that us fans that grew up with Indiana Jones have wanted in the movies. And this is why I've always been like, dude, I don't care if it's Harrison Ford. He's great. Sean Connery was great. And then Roger Moore was great. And then Daniel Craig was great. And then, or before that, Pierce Brosnan was great. It's just like, shut up. He's not real. He's a character. So I'm glad that at least they're going back to the 30s. They're going back to young Indy. It's not about, I'm too old for this shit. It's an Indiana Jones adventure. I think that's fucking great. But I will say that after watching this, though, I still don't like, man, this game's going to have to deliver in a big way to merit what I hope will be a sequel, let alone multiple sequels. Because I don't think anybody who doesn't have an affinity for the character already is going to look at this and go, yeah, I want to sit down and play that. because it not that it looks bad. I think it, I can't tell if it looks great or not because I'm super biased, but I don't think they did enough in their lead up to next month, and we're less than a month out to this game to really make it clear that this is something special if it wasn't Indiana Jones. To me, this is just kind of like, if you rip Indy out, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Kind of looks neat, kind of looks cool. So I don't know if you guys saw this morning and you have been convinced. I hate this woman now because she looks like, I don't know if they changed the way she looked or not, because I know people complain, but now I can't look at her and not see that Giselle Maxwell woman that was a partner with that fucking Epstein guy is what she looks like now. But, it is what it is. But yeah, Ultra says, sad to say Indy looks boring. I'm not sure who this is intended for. I honestly don't think it looks... I could see this being a really good game, but I definitely would agree with you that if you're just looking at it and you have no real connection to Indiana Jones, yeah, I would agree that this just sort of looks eh. But Jaffe, the game is a new movie since it's not an adaptation. Yeah, but it's not a new movie. I know that's the shtick, that's the pitch, and that's great. But, there have been Indiana Jones books and, novels and comics. There's been lots of stories of Indy, and this sounds great, as an Indy fan, and it may be great. I'm just saying that I would be stunned if anybody's looking at this who's not an Indy fan. Let me ask you, if anybody in the chat, are you looking at this and going, if you don't really care about Indiana Jones as a franchise, and you're just like, would this interest you? Would you go, oh, that game that's coming out, I don't know anything about Indiana Jones, I've never seen the movies, but this looks really cool. Oh, I get it. Ravno says it's like an evolution of the old adventure games. I get it. I love that it's an adventure action game, as they say. I love that. I love there are real puzzles that they show a few of them in this game. Eddie T says, I can't see anyone over. I think you mean under the age of 35 years old caring. Nah, this looks like an indie AA game, not in a good way, says Nick. I'm interested because the Riddick legacy. Yeah, Ben, but you're bringing stuff to it. But just as a game, that it doesn't grab you. John R. says, I don't give a shit about indie. I'm more interested in the immersive sim quality of it. I agree. Let me see this is 1 second, fellas. Okay, yeah. And I like machine games a lot. Dougie Jones says, I'm not a huge indie fan, but I think it looks cool. Okay, good. And obviously it's going to be on Game Pass. So, I mean, in some ways, if the game is great, that's all that matters. Like, it doesn't, Game Pass will sell it. If there's a lot of people who are going to try it, indie fans or not, and if it's like, holy shit, this is really fucking good, then it's going to be totally fine. And that's one of the great things about Game Pass. But I'm just saying that I'm looking at it and I'm not going, whoa, like, blow my mind with a puzzle, blow my mind with a stunt sequence, blow my mind with something. But it kind of just looks like, okay. But again, it's kind of hard to sell immersive adventure games. You have to play them. I get that. You think the first person view is the best way to bring Indiana Jones? I do. I know a lot of people are like, I want to see him, and you do see him sometimes in the game, but I don't really have anywhere close to a problem with that. I think that's pretty fucking cool. Because I want to feel like Indiana Jones, and that's what they've said. They're like, there's plenty of third-person action adventure games. Do you really need another one? Whereas this is something that it's like we want to make a, like somebody was saying, more of an immersive sim that lets you basically be Indy for the most part, and I'm down with that. I'm totally down with that. Yeah, third person says De Novo would have been Tomb Raider, Uncharted, whatever. Dougie Jones says, I don't own an Xbox. I'll probably never play it. Well, it's coming to PlayStation 5 starting next year, I think February. And B, it's going to be on Game Pass for PC as well. Hang on, what was that? Did you guys see that? I want to see what that. That's. Oh, okay. I didn't know what that said. I thought that's Indiana Jones. I'm like, what? Okay. Anyway, I wanted to see what you thought. I mean, it looks good. It looks good. I will be getting the 35, even though it's free on Game Pass. If you pay $35, you get the Order of Giants story DLC, a digital art book. I don't care about that. But then you also get some new outfits, which you're only going to see in cutscenes. But you get the look from Temple of Doom, and I think you also get one other look. That'll give you 35. If you want to spend close to $200 for the physical edition, Eddie, I'm assuming you're getting this. You get the traveling outfit and the lion tamer whip. I think everybody gets that. But you also get a display case, a globe that opens up with secret compartment, new adventure journal, and whatever this is, Allmaker Rella replica with game code. I don't know what the fuck that shit is. But if you're into it, even if I love it, I'm not buying it, but I am going to get the $35 because it also lets you play it 3 days early, which I will, of course, be doing 100%. Is this Tony Todd's last game, says Rotten Tanuki? I think so. I thought that was Tony Todd right here, but I don't know if it's his last game because, yeah, as most of you probably know, he just died this week. Who was he in Spider-Man? I saw that he was in Spider-Man games, but I was never really, I never caught that as Tony Todd in there. Why are they giving you a globe? Oh, because, like Indy in the movies, if you've seen the movies, when he flies around, you see a map and the plane kind of moves across the map kind of thing, is what it is. Okay, Tony Todd was Venom. I got you. Okay. Let me see something real quick. That's what it is. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a new game. And we come back from the new game. I'm also going to thank some very important people. I want to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 a little bit. I have some thoughts. I have some questions about this game. I also want to talk about Call of Duty. I want to talk about Sony's earnings call. That will be coming up. But before we get to that, allow me, if you would, to show you this new game that I think is kind of cool. The demo is out now. I don't think the final game is out yet, but it will be out very, very, very soon. Here we go. Show where the live IRL Jaffe takes like 10-minute break. There'll be a timer somewhere on the screen. You'll know when the live show is about to start back up. But in the meantime, I want to do two things. I want to show you a really cool demo. Before that, though, I want to show you my gratitude to the people who keep this stream and have kept this stream chugging along for a very, very long time. Here comes Taylor Swift-Tooth coming out with the parade float. Who's she dragging behind her today? We got Big Bad Eddie Torres, biggest collector in video games. We got Zack procrastinates. If he could just get himself to get out of bed in the morning, we'd see him here on live shows more often. We got the Lewist of the Lutron. Lutron Z is here. We got Swapfire, the creator of Swapfire, a very unique first-person competitive shooter that we'll actually be showing off later in the week here on this very stream. And, of course, the best, or one of the best DMs of Dungeons & Dragons and the best Dungeons & Dragons guy player on the planet. He knows what I mean. Hector Howell. Thank you, fellas and Filettis, for supporting the show like you do for as long as you have. Very much appreciated. If you want to get on Taylor Swift's float, and why wouldn't you, you also can become a God of War and get a shout-out every single goddamned live episode of Gabbin' and Games. And in the meantime, though, while we're waiting to get the live show back started, I want to show you a demo I found this weekend. This is called Acts of Blood. So I came across this game on Alpha Beta Gamer, great website, and at first I'm just like, all right, it's like a 3D... Final Fight, basically, Streets of Rage. And it is that, but it kind of has sort of a 90s Steven Seagal flavor to it, where you're this kid who's trying to get revenge for the death of your family. The game is a beat 'em up. You kind of can walk around the apartment and get a little bit of info about the dude. He can change his outfits, blah, blah, blah. But when you're done doing all that fancy pants stuff, you can head out and fight. I guess you're looking for the bad guys that harmed your family. Looks like they got a lot of levels coming. The game is obviously not even close to being ready yet, but they give you the warehouse level to play. And I want to show you some of the cool stuff. So when I started playing this, I mean, it is, I don't know how many people are working on it. It's not a big budget game. It's a little janky in parts. You can see the character kind of slide across the level. So, it's not the world's best looking game. It's an indie looking game, but it's still real. I like the vibe of it. I like the flavor of it. And at first I was just like, all right, this will just be kind of a fun. It said it was bloody. It's a little bloody. It's not super bloody. Oh my. You can kind of interact with some of the environment, or actually a lot of the environment. So at first I was just like, all right, this is just sort of that kind of game. It'll be boring after about 10 minutes. And it still may be, but I want to show you some of the cool stuff in here. So you've got a punch. You've got a kick. You've got block, of course. If you can hit it at the right time, you can counter. You can lock on to enemies. Kind of standard. I dig the kind of the Sifu-ishness of it, but my understanding is that game is pretty difficult and pretty what's the word? That's a pretty tactical game, or a pretty nuanced game. At least so far, this seems to be a little bit more, pick up and play. It's just, it's not like the Souls of beat 'em ups or anything, which is cool. There's a lot of shit you can interact with. All right, so honestly, at first I was just like, all right, it'll be a fun little time waster for 10 minutes while I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing today. And it is that. But they do a pretty good job in the demo of introducing new functionality. So obviously you've got things you can pick up. All the red doors kind of lead you forward. There are better weapons. This guy's got a hammer. If I can damage him enough, I can take his hammer. Gotta be aware. I wish you could pick up the hammer and the weapons mid-air, but not yet, anyway. And so here we go. I guess it just goes in the direction you're facing. And then he's got this kind of thing at the upper part of the screen, which is sort of a super that knocks everybody down.
Should be able to break this.
And it's linear, but it's not so linear. And I don't know what you do with the money yet. Nothing in the demo. Hopefully you can upgrade your character, whatever. But the blue doors let you explore a little bit, and the red doors lead you forward to combat scenarios, is what I can tell. But I hope some of the levels are a bit more interactive. Again, it's, you like the voice acting. I mean, I'm not trying to sell you on this as being like the next amazing fighting game, but it's fun. It's definitely fun. I don't think there's online. I don't think there's co-op. But it's got a good feel to it, and it's got a good kind of, like I said, I like the urban, grounded fighting flavor of it in 3D. Uh-oh, you're fighting Mr. Worldwide. I wish you could throw the weapons. I don't think you can. And I'm so conditioned now not to block but to roll that it's really hard to forget that I really can't do that. You've got a little dodge step you can do. Yeah, I see you, buddy. I see you, Green Mile. And I think if you hit the Y before it closes, I don't think there's like a perfect parry. I think you just have to kind of hit it right, like before it closes, but I could be wrong on that. Let's see, he's got a sprint, which I think you can come out of in a move, I think. Nope, same thing. He's got a sprint. And they do a pretty good job of introducing new elements as you go. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep that up the whole game, but so far it's pretty good. Keeps you interested. And one of the neat things about it is they definitely do not have a lot of guys standing on the periphery waiting for their turn. These guys will attack you from any direction. It's kind of Batman-like, obviously not as deep, but it feels more like one of those fights in a movie versus like you know, the code is like, oh, let's make sure there's no one attacking him so this guy can go in, which is fun. And then it starts giving you a little bit of navigation. I don't know how much this is going to come into play. I hope a lot. I really like the idea of this kind of fighting with some navigation and light platforming and exploration. Not like that becomes the dominant thing, but it's nice to see a little bit of variety in a beat 'em up like this. So hopefully there's a lot more of that. And now they introduce projectiles. Let's see. Here, I'll knock him down with my super. Oops, maybe not. There we go. Let's beat up on this guy so I can get his gun. And I assume you dodge the gun just like everything else with the Y. So then I'm going to take the dude's gun. I wish the shoot was on the trigger, though. It's weird that the shoot is on the actual punch button. I don't know if it gives you bullet count or not, but I don't think it does. And then I liked here, it's like you start going up and you can explore in here, or you can keep going up. Like I said, I want a little more of that. I'm not looking for it to be like Stellar Blade levels, but it would be nice if this opens up. So the blue stuff is bonuses, though. I think you can get this guy's machine gun. Oh, shit. I guess he's out of bullets. No, I'm not. I'm just hitting the wrong button. Shit, come on now. See if I can get in here. Oh, I lost my gun. Alright, cool. Let's get that. So again, it's a blue door, so you can get some health. Which you can use, like, I think this. There you go.
That's better.
And then...
Not bad.
Yeah, I see. All right. All right, let's go in here. And then this is weird. There's like this... It says there's like a workers' strike, which it looks like a prison yard. I don't know what the fuck's going on down there, but... and again, I don't know if you're able to level up your character or what the benefit is, but if you want, and I will, you can kind of go get into that little battle down there if you want. Right, so here you can deal with these guys if you want, which I like the fighting, so I'm gonna. Yeah, shit. Or, you know what I'm saying. Come on, you fuck. And again, for like more technique players, I'm sure Sifu looks like a lot more engaging, which I get. But for someone like me who just likes the... Ooh, let me get a handgun.
They've all got guns.
Me too. Okay. And here we have the final boss.
Not if I kill you first.
Shit. Oh. The tails are... Yeah, that's... Oh. I died. The tails are pretty good, but I wasn't paying attention. There you go. That's the game. Acts of Blood. Come on, that's cool stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I've wishlisted it. You can get it on Steam right now if you go to Axe of Blood over there. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you can kill the boss. I'm sure you can. You know how I play. But there you go. And let's get back to the show. Hang on. Let me fix the screen. This is actually from Swapfire, and then we'll get right back to the live show. But this is his game that's out today for free on Steam. So he's got a trailer. I want to show it. Get on over there, give it a play, tell him what you think. This is Swapfire. It's a minute-long trailer, then we'll get right back to it. Here we go.
On PC, open your Steam overlay by pressing Shift plus Tab. Then, navigate to your friends list. Right-click or tap on a friend's name and select Remote Play Together. Now, dive into the Swapfire arenas.
There you go. I will be giving that a shot this week. I recommend you do as well. Let me know what you think. Now I will let the internet know that we are starting up, and that's Swapfire. Give it a look, please. I put the link in the chat. Now, let me let the internet know over on Twitter we're back at it, and let's get started with the second part of the show. One sec. All right. We are back. Let me fix the screen for us, just so we can all see everything. There's my dumb head. Hang on. Internet screen. All right, here we go. Welcome back. Oh, fuck you, Addy Pie. I will be. In fact, I was going to say, if anybody has a demo they would like me to show off, I got to play it first, that they think is pretty cool. Hit me up in the Discord and tell me what it is you want us to play, and I'll give it a play and talk about it if I like it, and if I think you guys will like it as well. Also, Stoner Joe's been a member for 18 months. Thank you, buddy. He says, do you think Stoner Joe Productions would turn out interesting, indisputably entertaining content in 2024? 4 years, Jaffe. Thank you, buddy. I have no clue, baby. I have no idea.
That's a huge bitch.
You goddamn right. I have
Name 10 books.
no idea what you are capable of, but you seem to be a genuinely creative individual. And in that, yeah, I think you could do some neat shit, man. Absolutely. So good luck, and let us know if you want us to talk about something you're creating. I'd love to talk about it. And then, of course, 1 Minute Gamer's been here for almost 2 full years as a member of the Diet Soda Soldiers. He says, I just farted, and it felt so good. I'm proud of you, buddy. I know you've been holding that one in all night. How long did it take you to fart in front of your wife or girlfriend the first time you did it? It took me a long time. And then she did it in front of me, and she started laughing, and I'm like, fuck. She just didn't care. She just never had to fart. Finally, when she did, she thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. Welcome back to the Gabbin' in the Games live. It's great to see you. It's great to have you back. We're going to be talking about the game of the year race that's shaping up. We're going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 in just a second. We're going to be talking about the earnings call from Sony. I think it was the earnings call, but I'm going to play you a clip of Hoki Baboki Bahoki, who was talking about something I have been saying Sony should be doing for a very, very long time. And I'm very happy to hear that they are going to be actually going down this road. So we'll get to all that. But first I want to tell you, I get so excited when Call of Duty drops these images here because this is their new season. This is the first season for Call of Duty. Black Ops comes out November 14th. So we're about a week away. And I'm not going to go through everything because I know not everybody in here is a big Call of Duty fan. I love Call of Duty. I love the new Call of Duty 6. It's delightful. I love the Zombies mode. I love the multiplayer. Campaign hasn't romanced me as much as I would have liked, but so far so good. It's I'm not losing my shit over it like a lot of people, but I do like it. I do like it. Why is it opening there? But anyway, we got ourselves, what do we got? We got a handful of new maps. Nuketown already launched, but they're going to do Nuketown as holiday seasons. Hacienda looks like a lot of fun. Extraction, Heirloom, this looks really good. We got new modes. We got a couple of new operators, some new bundles, an event called the Hit List. I don't know what that is. So I am in. I am excited. I dig this stuff very, very, very much. Where did our chat go? Hang on. I lost you guys 1 second. There you are. There you are, you old knuckleheads. Let me pop you out there so I can see what you're saying. New zombie map as well. Right. Warped Eye says, I like the game. I like the campaign, except the AI is so ridiculously dumb. I haven't found that. Thank you, Trey. I haven't found that, but I mean, you know, I don't play campaign really. You know, I just have things that I shoot. I don't really think too much about it, but so far I'm enjoying it. So this is happening. They dropped this today. This was interesting. People are upset about this. So skill-based matchmaking, I know hardcore shooters don't like it. This, if you don't know, is basically where Call of Duty comes in, or a lot of games do this. Halo does this. The one game that clearly is not going to be around a year from now, X Defiant, says, we're not doing that. I don't know if that's why they're shutting down, but it can't help. It's where they basically check, unless you're with a party, they check, even when you're with a party, but they check your abilities of a series of recent games. How many kills, how many headshots, how many kill-to-death ratio, whatever their algorithm is, or the variables in the algorithm. And they say, we want to put you with people that are within this range of your skills so you'll have a more even better time. Because it sucks to be thrown into a match where you have to carry your team because you're great and they suck, and it sucks to be thrown into a match, although skill-based matchmaking will create that sometimes, but it sucks to be thrown into a match where it's just you and you're dominating and there's no challenge, and it sucks opposite. Some people hate it, but what are you going to do? It kind of is the only way, unless you're playing ranked mode, to actually create a game that needs to please as many people as a game like Call of Duty needs to please. But now they're saying, and people are saying this like this is bad, I don't think this is bad. I think this is kind of, I think if they are doing this, like a lot of people are being accusatory about it, they're saying now that there is a theory of skill-based damage, right? Now, I think they should totally do this in single-player games. I've been saying this for years. I think they should totally not do this in ranked multiplayer games. But in your general matchmaking, I just want to go into Call of Duty and play and have a good time. What they're saying is there may be in Call of Duty, the developers and the publisher, Activision, Microsoft, whatever, have not said this is the case, but there are people out there that are starting to suggest and try to prove that there are other variables that are actually happening during the moment-to-moment gameplay, which is, for example, if you're really good and you're decimating the bad guy, maybe they'll fuck around a little bit with not so much your damage, but your accuracy variable on just, how much bullet spread there is. Or maybe they will mess around with the aim assist just a little bit. Not enough to be noticeable consciously, but enough to kind of hopefully swing the balance into something that's a little bit more fair and fun. It is being denied. Ravno says they are 100% not doing this. Well, I don't know. But I can tell you that if I was designing a video game and it wasn't ranked, the mode that we're talking about wasn't ranked, I would do everything in my power to give the people in those modes a really fun, good time. So I don't have a problem with it. Tony says skill-based damage sounds horrific, but that's the only way it works. If you get rid of skill-based damage, you basically kill your user base, right? That's why ranked shouldn't have it, because that's where, you know, the real serious players should go to kind of test their mettle. But the idea, though, of going, I'm going to be put into a game where I'm just kind of not a casual player, but I'm just kind of logging in, playing 5 or 6 or 10 battles a night. I just want to have a good time. You're gonna make people leave and give up your game, especially on Game Pass, if they're having a shit time because they're getting slaughtered by people. All of that for a feature. The bullet spun damage, says Ultra, is the main reason I don't like Call of Duty. I want people to die in 2 to 3 bullets. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but you know, I mean, again, in ranked mode, it should be totally basic. Everybody should be drinking out of the same well. But I don't agree with you on non-ranked mode. I just don't. I saw you shoot a guy with 4 bullets, says Ravnos. All hit center mass. If they were doing this, he would have died because your kill death is low. Again, I'm not suggesting that they are doing it or not. I'm saying that this is the rumor that way more hardcore Call of Duty players than me are suggesting is happening. And I'm also saying that even if it is happening, it may not be on the things that are like, I notice I didn't say damage, right? I think damage would be too easy to check and go, wait a minute, last time it was 3 bullets. This time, the exact same scenario, it took 6 bullets, right? So it can be happening without that being part of the algorithm, but doing something like aim assist being a little stickier or bullet spread being a little bigger or smaller. Yeah. And it's funny, this article talks about like it's some sort of really difficult thing to do, which I don't get. It says, never mind the impracticality of actually making it work. As much as those players who feel this is happening might feel Activision is evil, the company doesn't employ wizards who can translate the mechanisms of such complex systems between games. Bitch, you can do it between games. You can do it during a game. You can fucking do it during a game. It's easy. What's the problem? Oh, this guy's doing really, really well. Okay, if you're doing so well, you have pinged the algorithm to say you are now in danger of fucking up the balance for everyone, including you. Here are the 8 variables that we're going to in real time adjust. That's an easy thing to do. That's not a problem. It's not. I'm not saying they're doing it, but they're not doing it because it's not doable. I mean, think about it. If you can guarantee, if you're Activision. I'll give you a great example. Activision last year, I think it was on one of the betas, they did this. They did some Call of Duty matches with skill-based matchmaking on and skill-based matchmaking off, because a lot of gamers have complained about it. And so they didn't tell players which they were doing. So you didn't know they were even doing a test. But all the data that came back was people did not like at all skill-based matchmaking being turned off. People abandoned games and they didn't come back, and it was not good. So if you get the data and the data comes back to you and says, hey, if we push that even more, but not so much people notice it, we're making the games even stickier. Holy shit. Of course they're going to do it. Not in ranked mode, but in normal, yeah, Swapfire, whose game we just saw, by the way. Hopefully you got to see that Swapfire. Congrats on the launch today. Says every system in existence from Mario Kart to the App Store have meta mechanics like this. Absolutely. Twisted Metal had a basic version, which wasn't for difficulty. But I'll give you an example. Twisted Metal 2 and Black literally was, this did affect gameplay, but it didn't affect difficulty, but it would have been just as easy. Basically was like, hey, if you've got a bunch of people on screen, AI and real people, and they're firing weapons and it's creating so many explosions that it's starting to chug the frame rate, then make sure that any explosion that didn't fire from the player, those are sort of the lower level of detail versions of the explosion, even to the point of just not drawing it at all, but pinging the sound. Games are always doing this shit behind the scenes. The only time you're not going to see it is, when it is like a competitive game, or it's an esports mode, or it's an MLG mode, or whatever. Lucas says being punished for being good doesn't feel fair. You can see it as a challenge, but at that point, why not play with bots? Because you're not really being punished for being good. If you're so good at Call of Duty that and Eddie Torres is this way. I see him complain, and I get it all the time with Halo, because Halo has skill-based matchmaking, and he's saying the problem for him, and I get this, is that he has to consistently carry his team, because he gets put on a team as the best player, and it's either boring because they'll get match made with shitty teams, or they'll get match made with good teams, and the only way to survive is he has to do triple lifting. But there is a mode that he can play. I believe Halo has ranked mode where none of this applies. I think it's a great solve. Trust me, man, as a guy who has made a couple of multiplayer games, it's heartbreaking when your user base starts to dwindle. So you will do everything in your power to keep that user base strong and healthy and growing. It's a real challenge in that kind of thing. But anyway, I thought that was a neat story worth talking about. Did you see this? Grand Theft Auto 6 has begun viral marketing. I'm not going to play the sound because there's licensed music. But here you go. You see this? This guy goes into his house. He's being followed. He's like, nope, not on my watch, bitch. He gets out of his car and comes back with, oh shit, what's he got? What's he got? A real life IRL rocket launcher. And those motherfuckers take off and they ain't coming back. That's a real, now he's kind of in trouble because you're not supposed to have that. This, of course, is not viral marketing, but it did actually happen. But I did want to talk about a little bit of Call of Duty. Not Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, it was a MAGA hat. That's right. Grand Theft Auto 6, expected to be one of the biggest entertainment launches of all time, is still on course to launch in autumn. That's the big takeaway. But here's what I wanted to talk about. This guy up here is Strass Zelnick, who's the CEO of 2K. Okay. It's been 11 years since Grand Theft Auto. I'm not making a claim. I'm not saying it's going to, of course it's going to be staggeringly successful. There's no doubt. But my question is, does Grand Theft Auto really still have the cultural cachet that it used to have? Because I remember being there in 2001 and Grand Theft Auto came out, Grand Theft Auto 3, sorry, and it was seismic, not just for games, because there were a lot of things that created, people hadn't seen that kind of emergent play before. And I remember people doing, you blow up a car, and if that explosion catches another car, then that car blows up, blah, 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 blah. It was like, wow, we've never seen that before. But then, of course, there was the cultural resonance of the game, where it was about, we were not in the age of Trump at the time. The level of rebelliousness and edging taboo subjects was very unique in general and exceptionally unique for video games. And certainly if you look at Grand Theft Auto Online, which it's not, I would be stunned if they're not basically going, let's make Roblox for adults at this point. I'm not saying it's not already that, but modding in GTA 6, I think they're going to make it a lot easier, even to the point of maybe releasing tools or better tools for it, because that's where the real money is for these guys. But if we're just talking the single player, I guess the question becomes, let's assume all things are equal and whoever's writing the new Grand Theft Auto has their pulse on the culture as much as the Hauser brothers did, who are not there anymore. what is left to satirize? And I don't mean that like I'm not being satirical, or I'm not trying to be philosophical in my own statement, like, see, we're pretty far beyond where we used to be, boys. I don't mean that. I mean, everything is on the table now. It reminds me of going back now and watching episodes of The West Wing when it was like, can you believe this guy said this and it was disqualifying for the presidency? And now you guys know what happens. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. Whatever you think of Trump, he wasn't wrong when he said I could stand in Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody in the head and I wouldn't lose any voters, right? That's the world we're in. So I'm only bringing it up because, I get that they're playing on the memes with Florida and everything, but even back then, memes had a longer shelf life. Now you can have a meme that's really the rage for a day or two, and by the end of the week, if you're still using it, people are like, that's cringe. You're still using, ray gun from the Olympics. That's cringe, right? So, I mean, what are they going to do with a game that takes 10 years in development to still be on that bleeding edge? I agree with people in the chat saying it's going to be huge. I think there's no doubt that the first month or 2 months is going to break all kinds of massive fucking records. There's no doubt. I'm not saying it's going to bomb or anything. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I just wonder, is it going to be as relevant? I think it'll be so advanced that the satire will take a back seat, says Mutant Mo. Okay. So you're saying that you're going to get by more on the tech of it and the sort of what you can do in the open world. John R. says, based on the first trailer, they'll be lampooning a lot of the social media culture. It was still a fledgling aspect of culture back then. Okay. Good point. The writing might be outdated by the time it comes out. John R. says it will make its budget back week 1. I'm not suggesting it's not going to be a success. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, you've got a lot of games now that do the open world stuff. You've got a lot of games now that, or culturally, we have a lot of games that deal with all kinds of different subjects matter. I don't know. I was just thinking about it, and maybe my answer is, yeah, you guys think it's going to be just as impactful as it was when you were first playing it, when you were, I don't know how old you were. I was like 30 or younger than that, but it's like in my late 20s when I played GTA 3. To me, it just kind of felt like it's just another open world game at this point. But the game will 100% be a satire take on stuff, says Ravnos. They need zero innovation for mechanics. Sure, but that's what I'm talking about. If I was making this game, I would not be, even though I would love to see it break new ground mechanically, I'm talking about sort of what it's about. Will it still be as culturally impactful? GTA is not still relevant, Brad, in terms of the narrative. It's relevant in that it's the online. But I don't think that Grand Theft Auto, I think the last real big Grand Theft Auto that was culturally powerful was probably San Andreas. I don't think 4 and 5, as great as they were, I don't think they rooted themselves into the culture in the same way, but I could be wrong. I wonder if there'll be a Mar-a-Lago mission where you try to rescue girls from getting trafficked by Epstein. Certainly then, okay, sure. So that's a great point though. I know you're kind of joking maybe, but if you go, how far would you have to go to affect culture and get people talking like they did back in 2001 when the first game came out? And could they even do that? Could you have civil war, right? Woke versus unwoke. Could you have a Jeffrey Epstein character and a Trump character, and it's clear it's those guys, and there are missions on Epstein's Island where you have to fly into Epstein's Island, and you can choose whether you want to traffic teenage girls. You can act like that's horrible, and it is, but so was getting a prostitute, having sex with her, then, beating the shit out of her and killing her and taking the money back. But back then that was like, oh my God. So yeah, if you're saying they're going to go so far as to cross the line of going, you get to be a Donald Trump-like character doing hits on your political opponents, or a Biden-like, or whatever. Or you get to be an Epstein-like character and you literally are trafficking young children to your big clients. It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not advocating it. Let's not be morons. But I'm just saying that, you'd have to go that far, wouldn't you? You already kill a Zuckerberg character in 5. Elon Musk is going to be in this one, you think? That's not true, Rob the Mod. Rob the Mod says it's Rockstar. They don't care. They care plenty. That's their packaging. That's the character they play. But of course they care. Can you imagine if 2K and its massive amounts of money they make with this game and Red Dead and their basketball game and what's their other big fucking game? It's not some weird mom and pop indie game that you can get on the internet in the dark corners of the internet that's almost the dark web. This is one of the biggest video game companies in the world. 2D Man says the appeal of GTA is just a huge open world sandbox to do what you want. The narrative is an afterthought. You would be surprised. Maybe. Just like I was surprised when I went into work on Twisted Metal 2012 thinking I knew what the appeal was. And there were people who work on SOCOM, right? You'd be surprised at the things that people break into factions over. To some people, Grand Theft Auto is all about the satire, the radio stations, of which I assume we're doing podcasts now because who's listening to radio? But, it's all about the cultural ribbing that the game does. To other people, it's the single-player open-world sandbox. To other people, it's the multiplayer online stuff. I think all three of those is probably you get a really good split of people who like which part of it the most. Watch Dogs 2, as far as shit to do open world, is great. GTA Online's a whole different beast. Well, yeah, online's a totally different thing. I agree. GTA always sold on the shock value, says Matt. Like the enhanced interrogation scene in the last game. That was a big part of it, what they sold on. Absolutely. They like to be on the edge, but I think they learned their lesson with Manhunt. Yeah, hey man, if I would love a game to do all of those things. I would absolutely love to go. I would love to feel that this game lets you be as absolutely bad as you can imagine, which is what it must have felt like to be like a 12-year-old playing Grand Theft Auto 3 when it came out. Like, oh my God, don't let mom and dad see this. But I would love to be 53, 54 when it comes out and go, oh my God, I can't believe they went there. But I don't think that's the business they're in anymore, but I could be wrong. Ludo, thank you for the super chat. He says, Jaffe, look, man, what's the point of spending 12 years of development if you don't bring a fair share of innovation to the market? The point is they can put Grand Theft Auto 6 in the box and they know good and goddamn well that it's going to be keeping them in whatever it is they like to buy for a decade. Well, maybe not a decade. It depends. Honestly, I have no data to back this up other than just my own gut feeling, Ludo. But my suggestion would be, or my assumption would be, that if you look at how successful GTA Online has been for these guys, you're probably going to see more of the innovation there. I really do think all you have to do is go look at the money that Fortnite and Roblox makes by letting people make their own content in those worlds and how much easier they've made it, especially Roblox these days. And I have not missed any super chats. I will get to them. And go, okay, imagine now if they did this in not a kiddie world, but in something like Grand Theft Auto. Right, I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the real innovation of it. But I'm just throwing shit. I got nothing. This thought came because I was reading this story. I know how important Grand Theft Auto 6 is, and I know how excited people are. But then you start going, okay, but what we've seen so far, you go, wait a minute. If this wasn't called Grand Theft Auto 6, what are we actually really excited about? And again, I'm not knocking it. I will be there day one. I'll probably get the very expensive version so I can be there 3 days before day one. Ultra Awesome says you will see Asmongold and the likes in GTA 6. Again, I am Oh, you mean like the character? I see. Yeah, there's no doubt there's excitement around it. I'm not talking about that. Only a fool would suggest that this game is not going to blow out all records the first month. It's just a question of can it, embed itself into pop culture like it has, or have times just changed so much that you've got to go so far afield of what is acceptable that there's no way you can pull it off. I don't know. I'm just curious. That's what I'm asking. If you want to share your thoughts, your views on this topic or any of the other topics we've talked about, join the call-in waiting room. I'll bring you in on the Discord. I don't believe that, Stoner Joe. Stoner Joe says this game is not going to sell well in the first month. It's going to sell astoundingly well. I agree, Rob the Mod, 100% on that. Define ingrained in the pop culture, meaning like the earlier GTAs, where it's what everyone's talking about. I remember driving around the year, I think GTA came out in October, maybe. I don't know when it came out, GTA 3, but I remember it came out, and this is back when people listened to radio, and it was just like people in LA, the biggest radio stations in LA, the DJs were in between songs talking about Grand Theft Auto. It's like, it was not just like, oh, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a really good game. It was seismic in terms of how it affected culture. Dave Chappelle parodied it on his show. There's no doubt. It's just a question of, John says it's going to be the highest grossing entertainment product in history. There's no doubt. It's just a question of, is it going to be able to sustain like the other stuff? All right, let me see what we got here. We got Puckish Rogue. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that super chat. He says, do you think the current players will drop GTA 5 and all they built up there for GTA 6? Well, if you're talking about the online stuff, my assumption is all of that, maybe. I assume they've changed the engine, but I assume that I don't know. It's a great question. I would assume that these guys are looking at GTA 5, 6, and going, online is where it's at. And if we can somehow manage to save all of that content and bring it over to 6, like as legacy content, we're going to be launching this game with so much content. There's so many people who haven't even gone on to GTA Online. Hell, I've never really done it. I've seen videos of it. I've seen my son play some with his friends. I wouldn't even know what the interface of GTA Online is. It's just not something I've ever felt compelled to do. But I imagine with 6, it's going to be much more integrated into the menu systems right from the get-go, kind of like when you go to Call of Duty now and it's all there. There's Warzone, and there's the new one, and there's the campaign, and there's Modern Warfare 3, and it's just the world of GTA. My guess is they're going to work really hard to bring in a lot of people, because like Grand Theft Auto Online right now is not as easy to get to as the Call of Duty system. So I don't know what players will do if their GTA content for 5 doesn't transfer, but that's where the new hotness is going to be. So I'm sure eventually they'll get over there, but I appreciate the question and the support. Thank you for that, buddy. Apparently they hired the guy who made up the RP for GTA 5 because that was a mod. What's the RP? I don't know what that is. The real question is, what crime movies are they going to make homage to? Well, again, maybe Bonnie and Clyde, right? Movie Maniac. But so much of that, and I'm not saying they can't do a great game without the Hauser brothers, but so much of that love of film and wanting to make a film video game, that came from, was it Dan Hauser or the other one? When it comes to, the love of Sopranos and Goodfellas and the other Scorsese films and the Leone Westerns. I'm not entirely sure who's running it now creatively and what inspires them, but we'll see. Hopefully Rockstar gets the rights to Twisted Metal and they make it open world. Well, again, that's the other thing I just farted. A lot of people are like, make a Twisted Metal, you can get out of the car, this, that, and the other. And it's like, dude, you can go to Grand Theft Auto 5 online. You have everything. You can get out of the car, you can go into buildings, you can have car combat. It's just constant, so it's like, it's the everything game at this point. Hey, there's Daniel. Daniel, are you guys still in Gatlinburg? Are you back? I hope the map does all of Miami as well as the full stretch of the Keys down to Key West. Throw in northern Cuba. Yeah, let me go to Cuba. Sure. I have no idea though, but I'm excited. It'll be out this time next year, I'm sure, is when we'll have it. I'm excited to play it. Hopefully, it'll be on GeForce by then, but we'll see. All right, what else we got? I want to play this clip from this Sony earnings call. I'm not going to play the whole thing, of course. It's very, very long, but there is something that Hideki Totoki said. That if I can find my timestamp for it, I want to play it for you. Here we go. Because somebody was asking him about Concord failing and Helldivers 2 doing well and what that means for PlayStation going forward. If you don't know this fella, Hiroki Totoki is the Okefenokee. There was a ride when I was a kid at Six Flags called Okefenokee. That's why I just can't ever say his name. It's not meant to be disrespectful, but fuck it, I don't care. Somebody asked him in the press. I want to play you what he said because I think it's a great answer, and if it means what I think it means, I think Sony's on the right track when it comes to this stuff. Check this out. Here we go.
So what do you make of that? And you have the huge hit, and also you discontinue certain services. And basically, how are you managing the portfolio in terms of development? Thank you very much for your questions. But currently, we are still in the process of learning. And basically, with regards to new IP, of course, you don't know the result until you actually try it. So for us, for our reflection, probably we need to have a lot of gates, including user testing or internal evaluation, and the timing of such gates, and then we need to bring them forward, and then we should have done those gates much earlier than we did. And also we have a siloed organization, so going beyond the boundaries of those organizations in terms of development and also sales, and I think that could have been much more smoother. And then going forward, in our own titles and then third-party titles, we do have many different windows. And we want to be able to select the right and the optimal window, and so that we can deploy them our own platform without cannibalization, so that we can maximize our performance in terms of title launches. That's all I have.
Ravnos says, so he said nothing. No, he said quite a bit. What he said that I thought was quite great was talking about these gates and talking about bringing the game and the gameplay to gamers and other internal studios, and perhaps even outside of those internal studios, to Sony as a whole sooner, right? So when somebody in the chat says, Eddie T says, everyone in the general public knew Concord was going to flop, I find it hard to believe executives didn't know. Well, again, by the time we all saw what Concord was, they could have done numerous play tests, focus tests. They could have done internal Sony tests. If they really thought, like the development team said they did, that they have the next Star Wars, probably could have gone to Sony Pictures. They probably could have gone to Kevin Feige, who's highly tied in to Sony, even though, of course, he works for Disney, and been like, hey, do we have something here, right? The idea of early access, I think, is really where this is going. The idea of going, look, man, and this is what I've talked about for several years, and all it takes is an awareness of the landscape outside of console. And this is one of the reasons I always say to people, it's like, I get why you can be a console player, and that's all you want. You want to sit on your couch, you want the comfort of that. Not that PC is what a lot of people think it is anymore, but it's the easiest you're ever going to get for the most part. I get that. I respect that. But if you're talking about somebody who wants to be in the industry and somebody who wants to be a designer or an executive or anything in the games industry, you need to be on PC, because PC has been doing this for over 10 years, right? And they look at And there are these games that if I said them to you right now, a lot of you guys in the chat wouldn't know what they are. There is a Battlefield game made with little Roblox guys that makes tons of money. There are those couple of horror games, I forget their titles, that are like co-op horror games that came out over the last X number of, like, in the last 12 months, that was like, remember what was the Valheim, the Viking game made by 3 people that made millions? It's like there's plenty of ways in the BattleBit is what it's called, Kyler. Thank you. There are plenty of ways in the PC world to look and go, they knew if that was going to be a hit well before they spent a lot of money. And then they can decide, do they want to spend more money? So this is excellent. This is as much as I beat up on Sony because I think some of their logic is moronic. This is fucking excellent. What an excellent ability to learn from your mistakes. I think it's great. Lockdown Protocol is what it was called, would make billions if it was finished and had faster support. Right. All right. I'm gonna bring Ravnos in very, very quickly. I'm gonna start keeping the phone calls very short, not like 2 seconds, but they're not gonna become conversations. I'm gonna let him say his piece, get him off. We'll respond to it and move on to the next call. Not because we don't love Ravnos around here, but because people get fed up if things go on for too long. Ravnos is Jaffe. What's going on?
Hey, man. I just wanted to say, yeah, I get what he was saying. I think the biggest issue is, why was that stuff not played at the time?
Wait, sorry, that was my fault. I had the audio playing. You get what he was saying, but what?
Yeah, why in the hell was Sony operating without those stopgap checks to make sure along the way? I mean,
my answer to you would be exactly what I mentioned when I was talking to some executives who are no longer there, which is like, he said to me, because we were talking about Clash of Clans, right? Or what's the game from Supercell? It might be Clash of Clans, but
yeah, that's Clash of Clans.
It was doing incredibly big, and I was playing it. He was playing it. Shuhei was obsessed with it. Shuhei was like putting guilds together within Sony and all this shit. But the executives above these guys had no fucking clue about the mobile market. They knew there was money in the hills, but they weren't like playing the games, knowing what was working, why it was working. So for the longest time, Sony has been this kind of, well, we make box products and we're good at talking to Target and Walmart about end caps, and we're good with doing deals with GameStop. And they just didn't get on the bus that was driving everyone else into the future soon enough. So I think now they will. But I agree 100%. The fact that they thought they had something is ludicrous, is what I would say.
Well, what scares me is, like, everything I've heard from insiders is that this was Herman Hulst's baby.
Yeah,
like, he was the one that convinced Sony, like, injecting them with money to make an exclusive isn't enough. We need to buy them. They're too talented.
Okay.
So not only did Sony buy them, they bought the building and everything. And then, I mean, I know there's that whole sunken cost fallacy thing. And like you've said, like, sometimes you just got to just turn the switch off and cut it off. But I'm so pissed that they just ditched the whole studio. That is, right. I mean, it must be for tax reasons, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm annoyed too, but I was happy to hear that they at least had the foresight to go, yeah, but we're going to take the superstars and we'll put some on Jade's team. We'll put some at Santa Monica. So, I mean, ultimately what really matters the most is the talent. And if they were able to kind of say, okay, we can identify the 25 superstars on this team.
But can they? That's my fear.
Sure. Well, I think the team knows. I think any team that works together, as long as that team, it becomes clear where the bodies are buried. And so I would like to think they have a pretty good batting average of knowing who the stars are and who they should let go of. So that doesn't worry me as much because I think those people will find good homes in new games. What I like is that you've got this guy at the top who's actually going, clearly he's coming in and going, what are you guys doing? Because like he said, a lot of our stuff is siloed is what he said, which means they're kind of working in a vacuum. It's like they're working not, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to share everything, but it's like, you guys need to, these are expensive fucking things. You guys need to kind of make sure all the parts are kind of connected to make sure everybody, it doesn't mean everybody has to approve it. You can get too many cooks in the kitchen, but when you're spending $200 million, you need to have a lot of a lot more oversight, and it sounds like that's what they're doing. So I love it.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing too is Microsoft has been operating the same way.
Well, they're a different beast. I mean,
But the whole, oh, look, they're working on it. Yeah, it's great. I looked at it. It's great. Did you, Phil? Did you really look at Redfall, Phil? Because
yeah.
what the hell did you see that we didn't? You know what I mean?
I
It's
would like to think that if Indy comes out great, and even though Stalker's not theirs, comes out great, and Avowed comes out great, maybe they've earned the right to go, hey, maybe they're on the right track. But I agree, they have not earned anybody looking at
and
Microsoft.
This is not me trying to shit on Microsoft.
No, anybody
Sony
looking at
fucked the bed
Microsoft
worse
right
than
now,
Microsoft
if you
did.
don't have rocks in your head, you would be right to be skeptical. There's no doubt.
It's just weird how the industry just seems to have gotten so much more advanced and yet at the same time worse as
Right.
far as that.
Listen,
I don't
here's
know.
the most important thing though: is your girlfriend still mad at you?
No, my wife.
Your
No,
wife?
she wasn't mad at me. She was just mad at the world.
Oh,
She was
dude,
dude,
mad at you
she
because
got
you
in that
voted for
bubble.
Trump. You voted for Trump.
I didn't vote for Trump. She got in that liberal bubble where everybody was cheerleading and like, oh my God, we're gonna win, we're gonna win. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I've been saying for a year, Trump will be the next president. And she's like, she would get mad. I'm like, honey, I'm not telling you this to trigger you or to piss you off, but you need to open your eyes and stop looking at like Democrat Twitter and look at real Twitter where people that are independent are doing nothing but shitting on the Democrats.
All
It's
I
like
know-
she did. I tried to
know-
explain to her that Trump was going to win because of the Gaza war and because of the fact that Democrats.
All I can tell you is when I am being driven away in one of the cargo train cars, I will be waving to you and saying, I told you so. Or I will be waving to Colin and saying, I told you so. I told you so. Don't forget about me. Goodbye, Ravnos. I'll talk to you
a
later.
quick thing that has nothing to do with me. Listen, what I want you to do, just hang up as soon as I'm done saying it, is try to explain to the people in the chat and maybe on Twitter too, that studios employ hundreds of people. And of those hundreds of people, maybe 20 have any say in what happens, because I'm so sick of the hate for the studio that made Concord when you and I know that 20 people had decision-making power there.
Sure.
The rest are just workers.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Ravnos.
Yep.
Yeah, as I've said before, I mean, certainly that was anybody who can ship a game, let alone shipping a game that is multiplayer, online, service-based, that runs great like that game did. You can hate the way it was tuned, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, that is a very well-made game. So there's a lot of people on that team that clearly have some talent, and hopefully they are still making something bigger and better. So, okay. Let's talk about this real quick. So sometime mid-November is the date we've been given for the Game Award nominations. And this will be happening pretty much in a month, almost, what is it, the 11th today? So we're talking 1 month. Of course, I'll be streaming it. I'll be bringing on some guests. I don't know who they are yet. We'll be smoking pot like we did last year and watching it and making fun of Keely's shoes. But this will be happening very, very soon. So hopefully you'll watch it with us. We know you have lots of choices of where you can watch Keely's Game Awards. We hope you'll watch it here with us. But I do want to talk about these a little bit because it does look like these days when people talk about Game of the Year, when they talk about Game of the Year, most people these days, it seems like Game Awards have become what Keely wanted, which is great. I'm a big Keely fan. I don't like awards, but I like award shows, but I think awards are stupid. But it's become kind of the Oscars, even though I know DICE wanted to do that. GDC wanted to do that. This is kind of the one, for better or for worse, that seems to matter to the gamer consciousness and culture. And I wanted to look, Polygon put up a couple of articles recently, basically about, they did some stats and some number breakdown about what makes the Game of the Year over the last 10 or so years. Like, what do you have to do on the whole to be one of the games of the year, a nominee, right? And here's what they came up with. I don't know if you guys saw this. First, talks about who votes on these. Most of them are journalists. It says, ironically, award shows are often dinged by critics, but the Game Awards is usually decided by critics. And then 10% of the Game Awards end up being decided by users. I think users voting for games is just as stupid as users going to Metacritic and putting in a user score. Like, if you could prove somebody had played at least 40%, but, you know, I mean, it's a ridiculous concept. The whole thing's a ridiculous concept. I don't think there's enough data yet to determine if a Game of the Year win or nomination, like in the movies, can actually create more sales. Certainly for an indie game, it won't hurt. But by the time most games get a nomination for this, they've already become really big sale products, right? But anyway, this is what they say. They say Metacritic matters. The jury composition says the Metacritic scores matter the most. That makes sense. Metacritic's a site like the Game Awards that samples a wide spectrum of media. All but 2 of the Game Award winners to date have had a 90 or more Metacritic score. Last year, every nominee but one had a 90, except Alan Wake, which had an 89. Big games are good. Indie games are bad. With the exception of Baldur's Gate 3, which most people would say, is that really an indie game? But in terms of small games, basically. Other than Baldur's Gate and It Takes Two, which also did come from Electronic Arts, everything has come from a major publisher. Indie games can secure a nomination, but they face an uphill battle. And here's why, because most people don't play them. Because most people don't fucking play them. Even the journalists. So it's ridiculous that you can vote on shit you haven't played. Last year, none of the indie releases are smaller games with a 90 plus. Against the Storm, Slay the Princess, Dave the Diver, none of them, and that one certainly should have, scored a Game of the Year. Unlike the movies, where you can basically get these little indie art house movies that tend to become the movies that are nominated, this is totally different. This is like almost like the Blockbuster Awards, not the Blockbuster video store, but like what was a Blockbuster tends to get it. This was the most infuriating one. They should be ashamed of themselves. The Game Awards, it says some genres are eligible for consideration and some don't seem to be. There has never been a Game of the Year overlap with Best Sports Racing Game or Best Sim Strategy or Fighting Game or Mobile Game. Overlap with the nominees for Best Family or Action are rare. Here's what they say. On the other hand, for the last 3 years, 4 of the 6 Game of the Year nominees have been action adventure. So basically what it's saying is the genres have a complete stranglehold that deals with story and character. And that's what they're really judging, and single player as well. And it's like, you know, if you are going to be a critic of video games and get paid for video games to offer your reviews and critiques, you need to understand the medium a hell of a lot better than falling for, oh, it's like a movie. I know that one. I know that. I like that character. Versus going, wait a minute, you need to understand game mechanics and gameplay and immersion and emergence. But they don't. But anyway, that's their breakdown. And with that, and I'll get to these super chats in just a second, I'll tell you what they're thinking about currently where we stand with the Game Award nominees. It come out probably any day now. Any day now is what's going to be happening. We'll be getting the nominees. Okay. They updated it on Halloween. They said Dragon Age Veilguard probably won't get it. It said reviews were overall positive, but too mixed. It earns a nomination, though, compared to Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which seems to have faded from consciousness. Great fucking game. Certainly one of my top 5 of the year, Echoes of Wisdom, but, you know, it is what it is. Here's what they think the front runners are. Astrobot, I think that's a ridiculous nomination. The reason this is going to be getting a nomination is because of nostalgia. It is wonderful nostalgia porn. It is brilliant, and it is a good platformer, and it is technically, clearly a beautiful looking game. But this game is not one of the great platformers. And if it wasn't for the nostalgia, which is fine, there's no reason not to celebrate nostalgia, but this game, the heavy lifting is done by games that have already gone before it. Tony, this is the problem I have with the internet. I just spent probably 97 seconds. If I rolled it back, my guess would be 97 seconds explaining how I got no problems with this game. It's great. And your response, Tony, is, nah, Astrobot is awesome. I didn't say it wasn't awesome. I'm just saying it's not a game of the year contender, in my opinion, because if you take the nostalgia away, you end up with just kind of like a solid platformer. That's it. Metaphor Refantasio. I've only played about a third of the demo, but I get it. This would not surprise me. And this seems, from everyone I've talked to, like this needs to have a home firmly in the Game of the Year top 5 or 6 or however many they nominate. I just think that seems like a no-brainer. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can't speak to it. So I know a lot of you guys think it's amazing. I can't speak to it. But sure, whatever. I have no opinion. Balatro, sure, okay. It's nice seeing any game up there. I didn't get addicted to it like everyone else, but I get it. Says Balatro is up there with the likes of Animal Well, which I just could not get into, and UFO 50, which I appreciate, but I don't think it's Game of the Year. Silent Hill 2, one of my favorite games of the year, but I don't know. I mean, again, the minute you really start to break this down, it's fun to talk about, it's fun to argue about, but fundamentally, it's so subjective and personal. Like, to me, Silent Hill 2 was a much more enjoyable game than Balatro, or Astrobot, right? But I don't fucking know. What does it really mean to be Game of the Year? Don't even ask that, because you get into that and it becomes super weird and subjective in terms of what they write about. Like, this is what a Game of the Year means. I mean, their best game design category doesn't even make any fucking sense when you read the descriptor of it. So, Dragon Age Veilguard is absolutely one of my favorite games of the year, as is Star Wars Outlaws, but I understand that this is probably not going to, it's too divisive. It's sitting at an 82 in Metacritic. And if Polygon is correct about, Metacritic is a big reason things get nominated, it's not, it's sitting at an 82, so I don't think it stands a chance in hell. Nor does Star Wars. Dark Horses, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Haven't played it. Want to talk about that in a minute. Dragon Dogma 2, which I liked, but I don't think so. Helldivers 2, that's another tough one because it was a big hit and it was a big part of the conversation. But was it really a Game of the Year game, or was it just a really great, fun game that was super popular? But is that a game that's going to go down as something that really sort of created a shift in the landscape of creation? I don't know. UFO 50 is a weird one. If you don't know, this is there's 50 games. They're not mini games. They're basically full-featured games at the level of NES full-featured games. What makes it more relevant than just a collection of smaller games is that there's a meta that sits on top of it about this being a long-lost console. And it's interesting enough and it's clever enough that I don't think it's the best game of the year, but at least the time I've spent with it. My understanding is this could be something that people are still looking back in 10 years because it takes so long to dive deep into it. I don't know if that's hyperbole or not, but I could see this makes a lot more sense to me that it would be up there in the top 5 compared to something like Helldivers 2, Astrobot, Balatro, things like that. And then let's see what else. UFO we talked about. Animal Well, people loved it. I couldn't figure out the big deal. Angerfoot was great, Mutant Mo, but that's going to be Angerfoot's going to get a Yoshida award. I guarantee you. That's the awards we do on this show, because people like me and Mutant Mo and Bradley and Awesome Tatum, we actually play more than like 20 games a year. We know what's out there. We play everything up and down the budgetary spectrum. And you goddamn right, Angerfoot is worth having a conversation about. There's another great game that comes out this week called Sorry We're Closed, which is a horror game that the demo is out right now. You can play on Steam, and it is fucking insanely excellent and cool. I don't know if the whole game is, but the demo is great. So 100%. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, certainly in my top 10, probably in my top 5. A lot of people love Warhammer. I need to play that more. Black Myth I loved. Plucky Squire, I don't think so. And then what's coming in left is Indiana Jones, although it's going to miss the cutoff. Stalker comes out next week. People are talking a lot about that. Looks really good. Metal Gear Solid Delta still doesn't have a release date, so we don't know. We don't know. This is Ravno says, what site is this shit list from? It's from Polygon, but you'll find this pretty much anywhere. This is pretty much the conversation. But if you go over to Steam, you're gonna find. I mean, it should tell you all you need to know. And again, I say this as someone that likes Keeley very much. I think his show is great. It's entertaining for the most part. But it tells you all you need to know that, and DICE is the same. GDC is mostly the same, that there are so many amazing games that aren't even, potentially adjacent to this list that people just don't know about. Eric says it's a conversation from out of touch journalists. I mean, I don't think they're out of touch with their market, but I think they are absolutely out of touch with the medium. It would be like being a critic or an actor, actress, director who votes for the nominees for Best Picture, but instead of having access and spending the time to watch what they watch, they only watch the stuff that is like, the big budget studio films, and that's it. So I don't think they're out of touch with the big budget console games and the big PC games, but they are absolutely out of touch when it comes to where the market is. I absolutely easily believe that. Let me get these super chats real quick, which I very, very much appreciate. We got 2 of them coming in from good Sir J Lord. He says, articles seem to indicate the entertainment business is moving back to a more middle of the road point of view. You're talking, if we go back to GTA, you're talking more about what they're about in terms of woke or not woke or whatever, as people say. With Trump winning the popular vote after so many woke flops, they can't deny the public opinion anymore. I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. I don't think anyone has the data yet, but I think it looks more and more likely that Trump's win had a lot more to do with the economy and the Democrats' inability to read how bad it is for some people or a lot of people out there, and less to do with the social stuff. And I say that because there were a lot of progressive propositions that did pass, not the least of which was abortion. Even where it didn't pass in Florida, it got 57% of the vote. The problem is in Florida, they don't understand what a majority is, and so you have to have 60% of the vote for it to pass. But the majority of people, even in Florida, said, we don't want this abortion horse shit that Trump and his super conservative Supreme Court have pushed on us. So I don't think the data exists yet to know how much of it was about the economy and how much of it was about social issues. The other thing is, a lot of these things that have failed, there have been just as many that a lot of people have said are woke that have done well. Even if we look at video games, I mean, I'm trying to think, there's a game recently that came out that a lot of people are like, oh, that's woke, but it did really well, but it wasn't woke. It's what I'm saying is it's a very subjective term these days. It certainly doesn't mean what it meant when the African-American community sort of championed and created that term and what it meant. So woke has just become this, anybody can fill in something they don't like. So I appreciate your position, but I don't necessarily know if the data is on your side. It might be, but we just don't really have it yet. But I do think you see in Disney, I do think you see in Ubisoft a sense of maybe we did push this too hard in terms of their views of culture. Maybe we assumed more people were where we were on our beliefs and whatnot. And that clearly they've walked back and said, okay, we're still going to make things that are, inclusive, but we're going to try to focus on better writing that doesn't make it so on the nose and obnoxious to people who don't want to feel they're being preached at. It'll just go back to being subversive preaching like entertainment's always been. And then Jay Lord says, hopefully a renaissance of type games you made is coming. I stand with a return to 2000 social apathy. We are seeing, Jay Lord, which I think is really cool, a lot of games coming out now where people say, oh, this feels like a 360 game, an Xbox 360 game, which is like it's only 12 hours and, it's very focused and it's not this. In fact, the guy, let me see if I have this news story pulled up. In fact, the guy who has been in charge of the Yakuza series. And I think he's gone and he's made a new company and they're making a new game. I don't know if I have this with me right now, but he came out today in an interview and he said that, and I don't know how much of it is the issue is he's working on a game that he thinks is too big, but he basically was saying, look, man, these games are way too fucking big. No one's got time to play them all. He is predicting we're going to see a much more, a constriction of content in games. And look, man, I don't know if he's right or wrong. I don't know if that's just wishful thinking on his part. But I hope he's right because, look, man, I mean, I give $10 every single fucking month over to Marvel Snap, and I love it. But I mean, that's like, since it's been out, that's probably 4 full budget games I could have bought. But the game just pulls me back in, and I get it. They're making a lot of money. Good for them. Good for Fortnite. Maybe what we'll start to see, like Gravedigger says, I'm ready for shorter games. I am too. But maybe what we'll start to see is kind of like what we were talking about earlier, whether it's GTA 6 Online, Roblox Studio, Fortnite Creative Engine with Unreal 5. Maybe we'll start to see more games that are in those systems that are somehow able to monetize, and they don't have to be so fucking long. Because, yeah, it's dumb. It doesn't make the games better. Let me read you what he said. I got to find that quote real quick. Let me talk about it on the next show. But Yakuza dev games too big. He had a really, really good way of expressing it. Yakuza creator Nagoshi says the era of game size being most important is coming to an end. This is coming from Video Games Chronicle. He says, it's Famitsu. I want to make a game that's fun to play, but isn't too much of a hassle. Even though there aren't many completely original games now, if you include overseas games, there are so many titles out there that it's impossible to play them all. Looking at the situation, he says, I think the number of console games in the lives of ordinary game fans may be excessive, a little excessive. There are still many titles being released, but I feel the era of games where the volume is the selling point is coming to an end. Now, he didn't offer any evidence. He's just saying, I feel that. And that's almost as, might as well just say, I hope that. But I think there's a lot of us that hope that. I think a lot of people, I want to finish stuff. I want to be able to, actually have the whole experience. But I look at somebody like Gene Park and I'm like, how much cocaine are you doing? I'm kidding. I don't judge him. Do all the cocaine you want. I don't give a shit. But that man can play games and finish them like nobody's business. I just can't do it. Dragon Age, I am in Dragon Age, which I'm enjoying very much. I'm at like 16 hours. And my understanding is I probably have another 40 hours to finish that game. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, I'm probably 12 hours, right? I'm just like, and I'm probably halfway through. It's like, I don't want that much. I want to move on to new things. And I get I have ADD. I get that I'm a little off with that, but I don't think I'm so far off that the issue, which is this shit takes too long to play. I think a lot of people feel that. I think a lot of people fucking feel that. Eddie T says, I finished Metaphor Ray Fantasio at 94 hours and I feel empty inside. Again, I think there are absolutely should be games like that though. I like that there are those big, they feel like mini series back when I was a kid, and it's like shit. Everybody was watching it and it took like 3 months to finish the whole thing. I think that's great, but I don't think the business right now demands everything be that. I agree with that. Ultra Awesome. He says Resident Evil games have the best pacing, 15 to 20 hours tops. Right. 100%. And they have one of the highest, if not the highest completion rates of any game series out there. So, think about that. Think about that as you go to sleep tonight. All right, I want to show you real quick. I want to show you this. may have shown this before, but sometimes I think about this picture. And maybe it's because I was looking at this Wicked doll that I bought that has the porn site on the back and going, hey, maybe that'll be worth a lot of money one day. I don't know. Let's see what they're worth now. But I want to show you something that is worth a lot of money today. That's just like, wow, this picture blows my mind. Let me go to eBay real quick and see what these dolls are selling for. eBay, Wicked Barbie dolls. Let's see. So right now they are ranging like $215, $140, $250, $250, $120. These are all the ones that have the porn site error on them. So, and I bought it for $22. $22 I got it for. So even if I flipped it tonight, I'd be like, fuck, that's pretty good. But I'm going to hold out hope that it's going to be a really big hit movie. And I'm just going to let it sit in a closet for 20 years and let my kids sell it one day or whatever. But anyway, I wanted to show you this picture though, because this is what I was thinking about. Look at this. This is a pic. I don't think this is a fake because I've seen this around for a while. This is a picture, I think, from 19. Let me check with my buddy here. 1 second. Hey, what year did Action Comics come out with Superman, the first appearance of Superman?
Action Comics #1, which features the first appearance of Superman, was published in April 1938. It marked the beginning of the superhero...
Okay, so how many years ago was that? Can you do the math? How many years ago was that from today, 1938?
Sure. If we're in 2024 now, then Superman's first appearance in 1938 was 86 years ago.
Okay, and then how much is the most that comic has ever sold for?
Action Comics #1 is one of the most valuable comics in the world. In August 2022, a copy of Action Comics #1 sold for about $3.4 million in a private sale. It's considered the highest price ever paid for a comic book.
Okay, cool. Do me a favor. Will you, a lot of people are watching you talk right now in my stream. Would you tell Ravnos to basically go apologize to his wife?
Hey, Ravnos, it might be a good idea to go apologize to your wife. A little gesture can go a long way in keeping the peace, right?
Exactly. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you chatting with me. I'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome. It was great chatting with you.
Okay, so let me show you this picture. Look at this. What'd she say, 1938? Boom. Look at this. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it. You know what you're looking at with this. Hang on. Transform. This is a picture of a guy in 1938 at a newsstand. I didn't think comics were this big. That's why I'm wondering. I'm skeptical, but maybe it's the angle or maybe they printed a big size ones back then. I don't know. But apparently there's Action Comics. There's 3 issues. Can you imagine going back in time and picking that goddamn cockadoodie thing up? I'll buy 40 of them. What do they cost? $0.10? I'll take every copy of this. It'll cost me $2. So basically 20 copies, 20 times 3 million. Come on, man. If this is a real picture, can you believe it? Can you believe it? What madness. What madness are we dealing with here in this world, folks? All right, listen, I want to remind you of a couple of things. I want to make sure you do not forget Wednesday. Coming up Wednesday, I probably will be streaming it, but I don't want to promise it to members, is the UFO UAP hearing of the United States Congress. If you want to watch it for no other reason than to see the beautiful Nancy Mace, who's my girlfriend, fuck you. But it's going to be interesting. But it starts at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. Might be too early, but we'll see. But there'll be a proper stream that day. Tomorrow I'm going to edit and make some members-only content. If you are interested in being a member or subscribing, please do that very, very soon and support the show. Hit the like button on your way out, only if you liked it. If you didn't like it, go fuck yourself. Or better yet, leave me a comment. Tell me what I can do better. And, tell your friends. There's a stream over here called Gabbin' Games that maybe they should spend some time at. And Rob, thank you. RPG, thank you. Bukaki, thank you. I hope you got to Mexico safe. And all of you guys in the chat, super chats and whatnot, thank you very much for your time and support. I hope you guys has a good time. I'm reading the chat, sorry. Oh, fuck you, Addy Pie. Sit down and shut up, you fuck. He says, Jaffe, to improve the stream, get rid of the pre-recorded nonsense. Look, bitch, the nature of this stream, the fact that I was able to go with the energy that I went with today is because I built in a 10-minute break where I didn't want to just leave you guys looking at Trey Trimble's beautiful art, but I put a pre-recorded preview there. You like that pre-recorded? Fuck you. And here's what I'll tell you else. If there is a demo you want me to check out and make for the Wednesday preview, because we're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing that all the time. That's how it's going to be from now on. It gives me more energy. Let me know what game you would prefer is the next demo, and I'll make that what we talk about in that pre-recorded segment. All right, you guys and Galatis, what are you talking about? Be well, be safe, be good, and I'll see you on the next stream. Bye, you guys.